You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. Steelers Nation Radio.
Good afternoon, Steelers Nation. It's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on a Victory Monday. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson with you here for the next 2 hours as the Steelers take care of the Colts and get back into the win column 27-20 over the team that entered that game with the best record in the NFL. Matt, plenty to get to.
Yeah, man.
A lot of minutia, plenty of good. I think some concern from that game, as always. When the Steelers lose, we say that there's good in there. When they win, there's still some things that we have to break down. But all in all, I think a very successful Sunday at Acrisure Stadium.
Yeah, I think it should be a joyous week. You know, I mean, the last couple were rough, and I get that, and I very much respect the passion of our listeners and Steeler Nation.
Absolutely.
And there were things defensively that, leading up to this game were very, very worrisome. And, man, I couldn't be, I don't want to say optimistic, but happier about how the big dogs on defense stepped up and all the big plays. And it's very clear, I don't want to say dependent, but it probably is the right word, of how this defense is with splash. When they don't get it, it's a long day. Mm-hmm. When they do get it, look out. I mean, because it comes in tidal waves and from all over. And frankly, they were way better down to down in this one too. I mean, they've had games where, frankly, they don't play great defense, but they make great defensive plays. I thought down in and down out, they were really, really good. And I know he can, be a polarizing guy because he's been the head coach for a very long time. And, get rid of Tomlin. It's all his fault, blah, blah, blah. They never do anything different. But I give him and the entire coaching staff a lot of credit because I really feel like, and we'll never know this answer, but I feel like they looked in the mirror and said, what we're doing is not working. We had a plan, and it's time to kind of go off course a little bit here and change the safety situation and the coverages we run and the amount of blitz we're going to do, and frankly, going for it on fourth downs and not playing for field goals. There were a couple instances where, I mean, it's hard to know this for 100%, but they went for multiple first down or fourth downs, and I think they would have went for another too. There was one late in the game. It was like 3rd and 4. They ran the ball, which told me they're going to take 2 downs to do it, but they lost a yard, so it turned into 4th and 5 instead of 4th and 2 because you could see like Rodgers and Tomlin like, we still going for it? Okay, we're not this time. But like it was an aggressive and good game plan.
It absolutely was, and you saw it right out of the chute. Steelers get the ball first. They go 3 and out. First game.
The beginning was a little worrisome.
The beginning was a little worrisome. It's easy to remember now, but there was a lot of points in that first quarter, or a lot of different moments where it felt like, this could get away from them a little bit.
Pierce is catching balls left and right, and the offense isn't moving the football.
At one point, Matt, at the end of the first quarter, the Colts had 10 first downs and the Steelers had 0.
Right.
Now, by halftime, it was like Steelers had 12 first downs and the Colts had 10.
Right.
But at one point late in the first quarter, the Colts had 10 first downs. The Steelers had run 10 offensive plays.
I think the Steelers did not have a first down in the first quarter.
I believe you are correct.
I'm almost certain, yeah.
And then they rattled off like 12 straight before the Colts got another one. So it was a real juxtaposition there. But you get the ball first, which I loved, by the way. This offense.
I just found this out. Sorry to interrupt, but I guess the Colts and Falcons are the two teams that if they win the coin flip always take the ball. I didn't never pay attention to that in my life, and I wonder if Tomlin just did that to say, I know you want it first, so I'm going to take it.
I'm going to throw you off.
Yeah. I don't know.
If he did, great call.
Whatever. Yeah.
And it didn't work. And we'd made this joke. I'd made this joke a couple times. The Steelers going into Sunday, they had scored points on every opening drive of the season in the United States of America.
Good point.
The only game that they didn't was the one at Croke Park against the Vikings in Dublin. Well, they finally win a game here in the States without getting points on their opening possession. They go 3 and out. Mm-hmm. Then the Colts march down the field, 13-play drive, stick it in on a 4th and 1 push.
Oh, no, yeah.
And it's like, oh, no.
This is what this team does, yeah.
And then the offense goes 3 and out again. And you're thinking, oh, man, is this going to get late early here for this team?
That's a great way of putting it, right.
And they have a special teams faux pas, and you're like, okay, here we go. Mm-hmm. That's the one play we needed. Everything's good, slow start, but we're fine. You go for it on 4th down, and you don't get it. I mean, and I loved the decision to go for it on
Oh,
fourth
yeah,
down.
it was the right call.
I'm not like, do not just take the points here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you have to turn this into a touchdown.
There's going to be a lot of points scored. I mean,
There's
this stage of the game, you're
there's
like,
gonna be
there's
a
going to
lot of points scored in this game. This
Yeah.
is not going to be a 20-17
No.
game. Do not settle for the field goal here. They didn't. I still loved the aggressiveness and how that all played out early. And again, Matt, if you end up losing this game, we're looking back on it differently, certainly. But to me now, it's even more encouraging that they didn't even get the start that they wanted, and they were still, by halftime, in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter, in a commanding, I don't want to say cruise to victory, but almost cruise
Pretty
to victory
close,
scenario.
yeah.
And I hear a ton of people screaming. And
Taylor wasn't much of a factor, especially late in the game.
Matt, once again, we said this. This was one of our positives about the loss to Green Bay on Sunday night. We were like, hey, if whatever Josh Jacobs had in that game, you would have signed for that in blood going into that one.
Oh.
Jonathan Taylor, 14 carries for 45 yards. You would have signed in blood for that before the game started.
You could have doubled it, and I'd been like, sign me up.
I think there's a lot to be said about a game where we had talked a little bit too. Cam Hayward had called out their mentality after that Packers game. We had talked about that last week. There were a lot of moments in that first quarter where I thought, again, this could get late early here, type of thing. And instead, it ended up being a comfortable victory in all intents and purposes. I know a lot of people are screaming, how do you only win that game by 7 points? How do you only win that game by 7 points? They kicked a 50-some yard field goal with 9 seconds left, or else you would have won by double digits, and it would have felt much more comfortable.
And who really cares?
If Roman Wilson doesn't fumble that ball at the end, maybe you add another field goal, and you end up winning by 13, and we're singing a different story.
Yeah. I was never worried.
No. To me, the way that all played out was very encouraging.
1,000%. And I know there's been a lot of talk, and that's just how fans are. And I'm not calling out our fans, but man, you should have traded Watt. Never should have given him that kind of contract. Highsmith, trade him. Cam looks old and done. Slay doesn't want to tackle anymore, doesn't want to get involved. Ramsey trade didn't make any sense. All these old defensive backs, retread safeties from the Patriots. You know how fans are. I mean, when things go bad, you're just going to blame everybody.
Yep.
And all those things trended the other direction. That you're a lot of proud leaders, and almost all those guys I mentioned are veterans. They're not rookies. They're not young guys. But I do want to talk about some of the young guys on defense, namely Benton and Wilson and a couple of these other guys I think are trending the right way. But I thought the leaders, your big money guys, your investment dudes, were all excellent in this game. And we pre-recorded just to pull back the curtain, but there's a show on DVE tonight that Rob and Pursuta and I do every day or every Monday. And Rob opened it, and he's the point guard, and he went right to Mike, and he's like, what do you think of this game? And Mike said the same thing you did about how Cam Hayward mentioned the effort. And we all kind of thought this could be a turning point in the season.
Absolutely.
I mean, if effort's not great, and frankly, Slay seemed like the guy that was getting the most arrows in that direction, which I totally understood rewatching the game. I'm talking about last week. And Rob brought it up. He's like, how about Slay? I mean, he broke or dislocated or did something really bad to his hand, because even like when he was laying on the ground and they're coming to look at it, he's like pulling away, and like he was in a lot of pain.
Yes.
Goes to the locker room like, I guess he's done. Oh, well, is this just going to be the turn of the guard for a new corner, blah, blah, blah. Comes back and plays right through it. There's a lot of leadership in that building. You know what I mean?
There absolutely is.
Yeah.
There is a lot, particularly on that defensive side of the football, too. And maybe it took a week later to surface than we expected.
Sure.
But I kept thinking of that, too, that Merrill Hodge line of never underestimate a professional that's been embarrassed.
Yep. And that defense has been embarrassed
2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And they knew, too, a lot of the – one of the things that I always laugh at, and Moats and I would argue, I say argue in air quotes, would joke about this all the time. Those guys love to talk about shutting out the noise, and we don't pay attention to what anybody says, and we're singularly focused and all this.
I always wonder.
They are full of it.
Okay. Moats always says that too.
No, Moats says it's a 50-50. He said some guys are really good at shutting it out. Other guys can't stay off their phone and can't turn it off.
Yeah. Back in the day, you just don't get a newspaper.
Back in the day, don't listen to the radio, don't read the newspaper.
Don't listen to Stan and Myron at night. Yeah.
I think I've told you this story before, but the 3 years that I worked in Philadelphia for the Eagles, I produced the afternoon show there, and one of the hosts on there was Ike Reese, who was a linebacker for the Eagles during the Donovan McNabb years, and then he played, I think, 2 years for the Falcons at the end of his career. And he used to always joke, when we would draft young players on defense, they would always send me to be like the guy that would pick them up at the airport and mentor them.
Kind of like a liaison.
The Eagles would always kind of send me to be like the welcome to the town, welcome to the franchise.
Cool.
And he's like,
which is an honor. That's not like low guy in the totem pole.
Big time honor. Yeah. This is like late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
And he's like, the first thing I would tell these guys all the time is don't read the newspapers and don't listen to WIP, which is the big sports talk station in Philly. He's like, now, how it's so much. What am I going to tell them? Don't have a cell phone. Don't have social media. YouTube.
Don't leave the house.
And all this different stuff. Those guys knew how much they had been maligned, whether it's the media, whether it's the fan base, anywhere and everywhere in between over the last 2 games. Highest paid defense. Highest paid defense. This is what you're getting.
Yep.
I think
Tomlin's a defensive coach.
I think there was a clear needed response there, and those guys delivered. And like you mentioned,
and I'm so happy we got it.
So happy we got it, and most of it
didn't. It'd be like, oh no.
Most of it came from those leaders too. Cam was outstanding.
Exactly.
TJ was outstanding. Ramsey was outstanding.
I
leading
mentioned
from the front.
Slay's injury. Highsmith hurt his ankle early on and came back and played a phenomenal game. Right.
Yes, that's a great point as well too.
Yeah.
Leading from the front. Getting it from everywhere. TJ, Cam, Ramsey, Highsmith, certainly. Those guys are well compensated for what they do.
Right, because they're good at what they do.
Peyton Wilson was outstanding once again.
1,000%.
Keanu Benton played well. Derek Harmon played well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was all hands in the pile, all hands on deck.
Way fewer palms in the air communication problems, and we'll get into it later in the show, but and I'm going to watch the All-22 when I get home tonight. But definitely some defensive wrinkles that were intriguing.
Yeah,
too.
And how about Duger as well? I mean, we're 12 minutes into the show here. Maybe we buried the lead.
Yeah, step right in.
He, other than Ramsey, Queen, and Porter, he played the most snaps on that defense.
Yes.
After just getting here a few days ago, what him and Ramsey were, you talk about that communication stuff. You mentioned Alec Pierce, and
they might be set at safety now. Well, who knows?
Those wide receivers made some plays.
They're a really good group.
They're a really good group.
Yeah.
But some of that, too, was kind of garbage time, empty calories.
Late drives where you're letting them, right.
Ordering McDonald's at 3 a.m. in the morning after you've been out at the bar all night, empty calories.
Early, I was worried.
Pierce did make some plays in the first. I mean, again, towards the end of the first quarter, the Colts had 10 first downs and the Steelers had none. They were clearly making plays.
They started good.
But 30,000-foot view on the whole, I think they did a really good job of staying on the same page and limiting. I mean, this was the best offense in the NFL going into yesterday's game.
1,000%. That's the thing that I couldn't get around was, okay, and we go leading up to the game. I noticed the proud defense are showing a lot of warts right now, but maybe they do play better against the Colts. But the bar has to be even higher because this offense is phenomenal.
Yes.
And I'm sure if we were doing Colts Nation radio, it would be like, it was kind of a down day. We didn't play our best. You're 100% right. It was Jones's worst day as a Colt for sure.
And again, but that speaks to that happens to everybody in the NFL.
Oh yeah.
I don't 100%. Care how good you are. You're gonna have a bad game where you're gonna have to take it on the chin like the Colts did. I don't care how bad you are. You're gonna have a good game and knock somebody out. You're gonna be the Carolina Panthers and you're gonna go into Lambeau and beat the Packers.
That's this league, right? Vikings beat the Lions with McCarthy. I mean, like that's this league. But even like the Patriot game, they had 5 takeaways. Some of them were just dumb things the Patriots did. Like in this case, other than the muffed punt situation, you earned your takeaways. You took the ball away. They weren't giveaways. You know what I mean?
Exactly right. And so, while I know on the surface, a lot of people thinking should have blown that team out, could have blown that team out.
I don't see it that way.
I don't see it that way either. After that first quarter, they were in the driver's seat the entire time.
That's a playoff team all day long, if not more.
They had the best record in the NFL.
Yeah.
Are they still now tied for the best record in the NFL,
yes,
I think, or maybe one?
I think it's them and the Packers, the only two that have 2 losses because they both lost.
Yeah, that's right. And the Packers lost as well, too. I mean,
maybe the Eagles. No, I think about
maybe the
whatever.
Eagles.
Yeah,
I mean, I know like Buffalo's 6-2. They're like right on their tail type thing. But yeah, all in all, again, even in wins, there's some things that you would have liked to have cleaned up and see differently. But
I mean, offensively, they weren't great in this game.
And Aaron Rodgers said that after the game.
Did he? Yeah.
You know, like 21 of their 27 points came off of turnovers. They've got to be better. But Aaron Rodgers said we should have scored in the 30s this game. And I
love that he sees it that way.
And really put them away. Yeah. And I love that he sees it that way too. And that's, I mean, Matt, we are just getting into the month of November. We are halfway through the regular season.
Pretty much at the halfway point, yeah.
Like, let's not kid ourselves too. Like, you want to see this by the end of this month is when you want to see this team peaking. And I'm thinking that yesterday was a step in the right direction.
I think a massive step, well, especially defensively.
Yeah. As you continue to clean some things up in the meantime.
No, I think so. And I mean, we'll talk way more about it tomorrow, but you got a trade deadline coming up tomorrow too.
Yeah.
Might you add a piece? I could see a defensive back, and we've talked to no end about a receiver that even makes you a little bit better football team. I think that's possible.
Oh, we'll discuss that plenty as we roll along, and certainly plenty tomorrow. A jam-packed trade deadline show tomorrow for you. But for today, we've got to continue to break down and comb through Steelers 27, Colts 20. Matt, one of the things too, like we kind of touched on it a little bit in the open, how there's still improvement for this offense. That to me, in a performance like that, can almost be, I don't want to say encouraging because that's the wrong word, but I like how.
Is your little board doing the right thing there?
Is my little board doing?
I'm sitting here looking. Sometimes I kind of see your screen, and it's always moving, and now it's not. The little blue house.
Oh, yeah, no, it's jumping. Okay, it's jumping there. I was looking. I was like, wait a second. Matt's like looks confused. What's going on? I know.
I'm like, usually that's like buzzing along. I'm like, okay, never mind. I'll stick to my lane.
Let me zoom in. Let me zoom in a little bit more for you there. See, I'm like, what's he looking at over there? Yeah. What's he got going on?
I thought you forgot to hit record or something.
Oh, that would.
I will stick to my lane.
I mean, that would be pretty typical, I guess. But like in a game where Aaron Rodgers just barely threw over 200 yards, in a game where Jalen Warren 16 carries for 31 yards.
That's the one I was a little disheartened with. Right.
To me, as much as people are screaming, I shouldn't say. I'm probably being a little hyperbolic. But there have been a lot of people, how do you force 6 turnovers and only score 27 points? How do you, win the turnover margin like that and only win by a touchdown? It wasn't.
I don't see it that way.
I don't either, because it wasn't a Mona Lisa for the Steelers offense, but they still found a way to capitalize. And they got help from the defense.
Right.
I mean, Peyton Wilson intercepts the
ball.
I
thought it was good complementary football like we were talking about all week.
Good complementary football. And it was nice to see that. I feel like that conversation for most of the year has swung in the offense's favor.
Oh, times 1,000.
Whereas it was good to see it swing back the other way against an opponent where you probably needed it to.
Yeah, I was quite happy, and I know the turnovers are so important in this instance. But you beat a playoff team that is one of the better teams in the league. I definitely believe that. Without your offense's A game, it wasn't their A game.
They've got MVP candidates, Offensive Player of the Year candidates, Coach of the Year candidates.
And it's not a bad Colt defense either.
It is not.
You're right.
No, certainly not. And you were also down a touchdown after 15 minutes of play. And then that defense just came alive when you absolutely needed it to. But for me, I still want to see more of a commitment to running the football.
Yeah, that's one of my complaints. And I know
aside from what the box score looks like and all that stuff, I want to see more. I want to see more commitment to running the football.
Yeah. Now, and this is a perfect example of how progress isn't linear. The running game is getting better. It's getting better. It's getting better. Okay, this is a step back. Let's just realize that's how this thing goes. And as you mentioned, you're not even halfway done with your games at this point. If you can continue to get better over the chunks of 3-4 games as opposed to every game getting better, that's just not how it works. Fine. But this goes back to the second half of the Green Bay game. 3 carries for Jalen Warren. I don't love that. Now, what I don't know, and hey, I think anyone that listens to us probably realizes I am an Aaron Rodgers believer. but he has a lot of freedom at the line of scrimmage.
This is a good point.
Sure.
I think I know where you're going with this.
I'm sure play calls come in with run or pass options, or I don't know how they specifically get things from the booth to Aaron's ears.
You got 3 different play calls that you can go with on this play.
Exactly. And he's going to audible, and he's not going to draw things up in the sand like people think. But he certainly has a reputation over his career of checking out of runs to throw. Like with the Jets, they were had the fewest carries in the league. Now they were losing all the time. And people were like, oh, he's just trying to pad his stats. I don't know why he does it, but it's pretty much worked for 18 years or since the guy was,
He's going to go into the Hall of Fame.
Right. And I don't know if it's stat padding or if he's just looking at the best option and goes there. So I guess my point is, don't just blame Arthur Smith entirely. Oh, they're not running the ball enough, because I think his track record's pretty strong that he's going to put the ball in the running back's belly. You know what I mean?
And
so I don't know why.
You are absolutely correct. And I certainly think over the last 2 games where it's felt like before that Green Bay game, it felt like the Steelers' run game was really on an upward trajectory.
Yeah.
And
big picture, I still believe it is.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's pretty clear that there's some of those situations where it's an either or that Aaron Rodgers is allowed to decide,
right,
as he's earned every right to do. And
I bet he's calling plays as much as Arthur Smith.
And
yeah,
you know what? It's a
Maybe
good
more.
point. It's a good point. Or again, where it's just hey, here's 2 or 3 options when you get to the line of scrimmage.
Which one do you like best?
I understand why too, and he's earned the right to do what he wants to do and to keep the ball in his hands, and especially now that it feels like he's got the healthiest complement of weapons and pass catchers that he's had, this season. Calvin Austin fully back in the fold, and everything they've been able to do with Darnell Washington and what we've seen from Pat Freiermuth the last
capable tight ends.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, they once again go play action on the first play. That was another one of those bad things early on where I thought, oh man, you got a chance to hit a 20, 30-yard gain to Jonnu on the first play of the game, and it wasn't a perfect throw, but should have probably still been caught.
Yeah.
And
you knew that they were I mean, that was planned 4 days ago.
Totally. It was planned
right,
just like the Darnell Washington was a few weeks prior. I think this offensive line has shown improvement in not only pass protection but in the run game. And I think other than Aaron Rodgers, you could argue Jaylen Warren is good as anybody else on that offense.
Yeah, including Metcalf.
DK Metcalf would be in the conversation, absolutely. But that's, I think...
Warren's a heck of a football player.
He is a fantastic football player.
Yeah.
And I think so much of it is just when you can get him going early, it really opens up everything else for the rest of the offense.
1,000%. I mean, analytics folks will laugh at establishing the run and all the old school things like that.
But the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Right. I mean, it's certainly a nice thing to lean back on when you are moving bodies and Warren's getting a lot of yardage and you can run the football early and it's always there in your back pocket, 1,000%. And that was missing yesterday and it's been missing, I guess, for 6 quarters. Now, I don't think it's shot that they've gone back to not being a good running team. I don't believe that at all. Now, one thing I wanted to mention, and this is a huge knock-on-wood thing, and maybe it even comes up this week. Watching the Sunday Nighter last night, one of the announcers said there's only 2 or 3 teams that have started the same 5 offensive linemen for every game.
Uh-oh.
Don't go here, Williamson. Steelers are one of them, and that's in jeopardy again with Siamalu.
Yeah.
And hopefully, that's why I'm knocking on wood, left and right, you don't have change up front, because that could derail a good young group that's all progressing together. I think the tackles are playing pretty well, especially Faltanu.
But, you know what? I'm glad you said that too. And we're, now almost an hour into this show, and we should have referenced Troy Faltanu at some point. I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah.
Broderick Jones has been much better.
Much better.
But I think Troy Faltanu has really... Listen, Matt.
I think he's going to be a star.
You and I was thinking about this in the midst of the game as Faltanu was playing outstanding and Darnell Washington was like the focal point of the offense.
I'm like,
you and I did some predictions, and we'll revisit all this stuff at the end of the year. We don't need to go too deep into it now, but you and I we had a show or like an hour after training camp, before the season started, when we've got some time to kill there, where we did predictions for this Steelers season.
Yeah.
One of our predictions was Darnell Washington, 50 or more targets on the season. We're trending in the right direction in that regard.
Yesterday helped.
Yesterday certainly helped. He had 6 targets yesterday, 4 receptions. The other was, by the end of the year, everyone's calling Zach Frazier and Troy Fautanu stars. Man, I think it's...
I'm feeling pretty good about that.
I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah.
And I thought, to be fair, too, Fautanu really stood out, and it's easier to do that as a tackle. You either stand out in a good way or stand out in a bad way.
Sure.
It's almost like a defensive back, right?
Yeah.
It's like... There's
easy to see the bad.
There's very rare, like, that guy had a B game. He was fine. He wasn't great. He wasn't terrible. He had a B, a 3.0 GPA. At tackle and at corner, it's like you're either the valedictorian or you were a bum. There's typically not much of
the nature of the position. And so while Fautanu stood out in that regard, I thought McCormick and Frazier played very well too. No, 100%.
And that
and
is,
Jones is getting better, and yeah.
That's encouraging, and you would hate to lose Sayamalu, I think, particularly for what it means for some of the other stuff that you can do, the corned beef package, all those things. But you also, I think, would feel pretty confident about Anderson sliding in there the way that the other 4 are currently performing.
Yeah, I think they'd be okay with Anderson for Sayamalu 1-for-1. Now, the jumbo, corned beef stuff to be worked out. We touched on it a little bit last week of what some options would be. But I did just want to mention that they've been very fortunate with health, which great, because they need to be, because I'm glad they're young and they're all growing together.
They have. And, they've missed some key. Overall, I think that's been something that you can't complain too much about. They've missed some key guys. You're going to miss Deshaun Elliott. He missed some time at the beginning of the year. He's missing time now. Alex Highsmith, all those things. But you haven't had
a lot of their injuries have been defensive oriented.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which is not great.
No.
But you feel like you've got a lot of depth there, and you've got a lot of stars there, and you've got a lot of leadership there, and you've got the flexibility to overcome what we just saw with Jalen Ramsey and Duggar and what they had to do, and kind of some patchwork, throwing a safety tandem together here this week to get ready for the Colts.
And I also commended the Steelers and Omar in the front office the offseason, because I think a big priority of the offseason was building defensive depth.
Totally.
Because you're older, Like, I know the most expensive defense in the league, but it's not all because of the stars, too. I mean, you're paying like a Harrison. Some of your depth guys are veterans, I mean, because
Echols and Slay.
Yeah, and that's why, like, the fourth quarter points allowed was so bothersome. It's like, but you built the depth, like, let's use it.
Mm-hmm. And
I think we did yesterday. I mean, we saw it yesterday.
I think they did. And again, it's not going to be every single week. Here they go. But that's one of those guys deserve a lot of credit. And I know I said this to you earlier in the season, but I always laugh. It's like when the Steelers defense is performing like they did against the Bengals or the Packers, second half against the Packers, there's a lot of highest paid defense in the league.
Oh, I know.
$180 million or whatever it is.
So if they're not
But then when they go out there and get 6 turnovers, everyone's not like, that's what you get what you pay for. Well done.
I know, right. I mean, they never should have signed Watt. Cam's over the hill. Highsmith, trade him. Blah,
My
blah,
goodness,
blah.
Cam Hayward was a force.
He was phenomenal.
He was a force. So many deflected passes, so much chaos caused. Great in the run game. I think Quentin Nelson wants that guy to retire big time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's tired.
They might be equal players, but one wins the individual matchups every time.
And sports are weird like that.
And they are, right.
It's just sometimes certain
styles
guys,
make fights, right.
Certain guys have certain guys' numbers, and styles make fights, and maybe there's one part of your game where you don't excel, and that's a part of my game where I could take advantage.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you what, if Cam Hayward played the Colts every single week,
oh man!
I mean,
he was one of the best players on the field for
Aaron
sure.
Donald type numbers.
Yeah.
If he was playing Indianapolis every single week, which is saying something because that's a really good Colts offensive line.
1,000%.
And that's a Quentin Nelson who is in all likelihood going to be wearing a gold jacket one day as well. I think
the bottom line is Cam is still phenomenal and showed it again.
He sure did. As did T.J. Watt. As did Alex Highsmith. As did a ton of guys on that defense that I think we did a pretty good job of giving them some flowers, giving them some roses here. I figure we start where we typically would, which is with a little Tomlin Tuesday, just a few hours ago, the head coach giving his weekly press conference. With that, Matt, I think always some pertinent injury updates that we're always waiting to hear from. And then some of the things, particularly from my standpoint, you knew he was going to be asked and was going to talk about what they did schematically against the Colts, particularly on defense, particularly at the safety position, and he did that as well, too.
Cool.
The Steelers have also made some practice squad moves before we even approach the trade deadline and everything here. So, I don't know, Matt.
What's going on? Yeah.
Where do you want to start? You want to start with, I feel like we spent a lot of time Monday highlighting the defense, some of those changes, what they were able to do there. So should we kind of pick back up there with what Mike Tomlin talked about
cool with me.
today? Mike Tomlin said that Jalen Ramsey will continue to work exclusively at safety this week.
Okay.
He said he was really impressed by Brandon Echols, thought he's stepped up and has kind of handled everything that they've asked him to do, and that they're obviously more confident in their depth at corner than they are, or just that they have more depth at corner than they do at safety. But that was one of those kind of big, I don't even want to say headline grabbing because that makes it sound clickbaitish in a way, but that's one of the things that stood out to me about what Mike Tomlin said today. He didn't say, we'll approach the week, we'll see how it plays out, we'll wait for health status. He said Jalen Ramsey will continue to work exclusively at safety this week.
So Tom Offerman and I do the pre-game show.
You do a good job, by the way.
Why, thank you. So that comes on 4 hours before kickoff, and we go for 2 hours. So this week it'll be late. Usually it's at 9. And at that point, we were just started the show. It was like 9 a.m. and we're sitting in here, and we were talking about the whole safety situation. It's like, man, they got a lot of balls in the air at that point. And I guess Missy was listening, and she texted me, and she's like, go check out this blurb from Coach Tomlin and Labs. That how they sit down before.
They do the sit down,
They do the sit down.
And that's the best stuff you get from Mike Tomlin every week.
So good, right. I mean, they must have such a good relationship. Right.
I'm sure they do. And,
right.
And Labs just, hey, to his credit, he knows how to ask the right questions to get the right answers.
That's a good point.
He knows how to frame it to get the good stuff from Mike Tomlin as well.
So in that, it was on Steelers.com, but it said, Tomlin had said, well, he used the same word then, exclusively at safety. And I was I was shocked that I was
definitive.
reading that. Yeah, because usually coaches aren't that definitive. And then to say it again today, he's a safety, folks. I mean, that doesn't mean forever and ever, but for now, he's a safety. And I had tweeted this stuff, and I don't know exactly if it's 1,000% accurate, but over 80% of his snaps, he aligned at safety.
Yes, he did a couple down in the slot and things like that.
Right, but safeties do that now too, and so that's what I mean. Like,
correct.
What exactly is a safety location versus just an overall defensive back? Blah blah blah. But the most he had ever done safety stuff in his career at any game in the NFL was like 30%. So, but he came to Florida State as a safety.
Yes.
I don't know what their plan was when they recruited him, but
they saw you'll probably remember this better than I will, but I'm pretty sure when he came out of high school, he was the number 1 rated corner in his class and the number 1 rated safety.
I would be
in his
so
class.
not shocked by that.
Yeah.
That totally adds up. But I thought, okay, when I read that pregame, thinking that's smart. He's the most free of them all. He's definitely the most knowledgeable, experienced, even though that's not really his position or has it ever been. But they have so much up in the air right now. Peppers is ill. Clark isn't going to play, and what's his face? The new guy, Duggar.
Duggar just got
super
here
new, right?
A couple days ago.
So you need somebody to stabilize things in a Minka-like manner. And boy, did he ever. I think it was a huge success story. And frankly, I don't know how much they trust Thornhill anymore. I mean, he really seemed to have fallen out of favor. So why not roll that back with Duggar and Ramsey? And I'm not sure Pepper's story is totally written either. I assume he'll be over his illness by now, of course.
That's the kind of real monkey wrench in what would his role have been if he was healthy on Sunday.
Right.
I think it would have been something.
Oh, I think it's something.
I'm not saying he would have played as many snaps as Duggar and Ramsey, obviously, but he would have contributed in some capacity.
Somewhere in the mix, right. And I don't know Clark's story is totally written either, but of the 4, Ramsey, Duggar, Peppers, Clark's my least favorite because he moves the slowest of the group. So maybe you found something there. I mean, Duggar and Ramsey weren't your safeties up until 4 days ago or whatever.
Right.
And maybe they will be the rest of the way. Now, Tomlin, I guess, mentioned this, you just referring to what you said there. Well, we like our corner depth. But if Ramsey's not a corner, your corner depth all of a sudden is just Slay, Porter, Eccles.
Especially with Corey Trice's status still up in the air.
I'm excited.
Pierre, we saw Pierre out there.
Right. I mean, that's not so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's your fourth guy. But all of a sudden, I don't love the corner depth as much. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So who knows?
And they did make some practice squad moves in that regard since we've last spoken here yesterday. Just there were some more here, but specifically with the cornerbacks, they released Beanie Bishop off the practice squad. Okay. They added Daquan Hardy to the practice squad, defensive back, Penn State guy, Penn Hills kid, so grew up here locally. So
not earth-shattering, but right.
Not earth-shattering, but maybe, and you and I, we talked about this a lot when the initial 53-man roster came out. Beanie Bishop is a nickel. He's a slot.
Yeah, that's his problem.
He doesn't have the versatility of these other guys. Maybe they just value, especially when you're a little short in that department, maybe you want somebody who you feel can wear multiple hats on game day. Maybe that's the reasoning behind this. Maybe they just wanted to get a look at somebody else. Who knows? Yeah. But was some tweaking to the defensive backs on the practice squad as well, too.
So along these lines, just about game day, now that you mentioned it, Pierre's going to be active because of special teams qualifications. But it's kind of an underreported story. There's two things, actually, I want to bring up. It was kind of an underreported story that they activated Lou Nichols and Sermon.
Yeah, 5 active running backs on game day.
5 active running backs, really for special teams reasons, But
that's a lot for like back in the wishbone days, Matt.
Right.
Let alone in 2025.
And those guys didn't play on offense, and then they had no intentions, I assume, of playing them. But they had 5 active game day running backs, which is weird. But it also told me we're kind of looking for our best core special teamers too. We know Killebrew's out of the mix,
and when you lose Killebrew, that's
the biggest dog you got.
Totally.
But one thing I wanted to mention yesterday that we didn't, that I just wanted, people don't think about these things, but probably outside the person that kicks the football, the punter in Boz, the most important guy in all special teams is probably the personal
protector.
Yeah.
Bigger, more so than the long snapper? Maybe they're kind of similar.
Similar. Just they're kind of the quarterback, and they got all the protections. They got to be
on the same page. Yeah,
it's always like your best special teamer, your core guy. the dude that's on the team just.
He's kind of like your green dot guy of your your special teams.
Really well said. Yeah. Exactly. That's a really important, trusted position. And I always tell people too, when you're not sure who's going to make the team in the preseason, watch who's on the first punt team. That says a lot, because it means that, I trust you.
It's football dork stuff, but you're absolutely right.
But that's where I'm going with this. Is Killebrew's been the personal protector since he's been here, and he's great at it, and everyone's thrilled with it. Well, he's not in the mix. So what they did is they took Skoranek, who's a really good gunner, and moved him to personal protector. Good for you. You got promoted. He's next in line.
Sure.
But then you were short a gunner.
You're short a gunner. Absolutely.
Right. And I think Eccles did it. He did.
You are correct.
Because we saw him on the muff. But some key components of special teams right now are in flux. And I'm sure the same's true on kickoff and kickoff return, too.
Absolutely.
I didn't plan on talking about all that, but I wanted to throw that. Good for Skoranek. I wanted to mention that yesterday.
Absolutely. I am glad you mentioned that. And you like that you're confident in Eccles to slide him into that role. Mm-hmm. But then once again, you're asking him to play more snaps.
Right.
When you're already a little thin at corner depth.
And it's all, people don't think about this either, but you run down as a gunner
you're flying.
Against double teams, getting beat up. Sometimes they drive you into the seats almost. And then you got to cover Randy Moss the next play. The defensive player.
You just ran 60 yards fighting off 2 guys.
Right.
And then here comes Alec Pierce.
You're hoping it's a commercial break, but if it isn't, it's like,
later.
I got to guard this dude, right? McConkey this week or whatever. So that's not easy. You don't want starting corners necessarily doing that. And I brought that up just because Beanie, maybe they're bringing in the new guy, the Penn Hills dude or whatever, just because he has more special teams acumen.
That's a great point, too.
He might be a bigger body or more experience on teams. And it's weird to me that they brought up the 2 running backs.
Yeah. It's something to keep an eye on for
sure.
sure.
It matters.
But there's always rhyme to the reason. Sometimes you just got to read through the tea leaves a little bit to figure it out. Last thing that we obviously have to discuss as it relates to the Mike Tomlin press conference today is, of course, those weekly injury updates.
Yeah.
Scotty Miller and Cole Holcomb are out to start the week, but could work their way back.
Okay.
Scotty Miller did not practice last week with that finger injury. Cole Holcomb obviously dealing with an illness that kept him out on Sunday. It is that
surprising
time.
he's still looming there. Usually that gets cleared pretty quick.
It must be, there must be something going around.
There could be something going around.
How that's one of my favorite Yinzerisms.
Oh, you and TV love that one.
Me and video producer Tyler V always joke about that. From November through March, anytime you have like a cough or a sore throat in Pittsburgh, and you tell somebody, they go, oh yeah, something's going around. Be careful. Take your Airborne. Take your vitamins.
You guys were joking about that.
Stay hydrated. There's something going around.
A month or so ago.
Yep.
And I never knew that was a Pittsburgh thing until you guys said it. I'm like,
to be fair, maybe they say it other places. I'm sure they say it other places
too. They say it in Portland and Austin and I bet
Southern California.
I bet not. Well, no one gets sick there, but yeah.
Every time, like there's something going on at my daughter's daycare, I look at my wife and I go, hey, there's something going around. Little hand, foot, and mouth going around. Scotty Miller and Cole Holcomb out to start the week.
Like diseases take time off and don't go around other times,
You're correct. They take their summer siesta.
Right, we're out. Yeah.
They go to Europe. They vacation in southern France during the summer.
All that bacterium and whatnot.
Isaac Sayamalu with the pec and Jabril Peppers are working towards their return.
Peppers was an illness too, right?
Peppers was an illness too, and dealing with that quad.
Okay.
I
thought there was
that
something
popped
else.
up on the injury report as well too. And then Chuck Clark with the illness expected to be back in practice as well.
So it seems like when we start really digging into practice reports, Sayamalu is going to be the one that's most of interest.
Most questionable and most of interest.
And there's no chance he practices Wednesday. He often doesn't when he's 1,000% healthy, so let's keep that in mind. Any mention of Slay's finger?
Did not see anything about that or hear anything about that.
But just talking to people at the game, people thought he was in a lot of pain. So I would give him credit for coming back. And I also thought Highsmith ankle was not a nothing. Because, he was hurting bad. Came back in and was awesome in this game, but they taped it heavily. So maybe like Wednesday he'll be a veteran rest guy.
Dislocated finger was what Mike Tomlin called it after the game.
And if people play through that stuff, it's easy for us to be like, oh, it's just a dislocated
finger.
Just a finger.
You got 9 other ones. You'll be fine.
Right. You get stuck in face masks and whatnot. It'll be fine. But yeah.
Didn't see anything specific on his status or hear anything specific on his status today from Mike Tomlin. But that's a good call by you. That's something that, when we get the initial,
keep an eye on,
when we get the initial weekly practice report tomorrow.
And I'm sure we won't know anything about Sayamalu until at least
Friday.
Yeah, say Thursday.
And then I bet you on Friday he'll be listed as questionable or probable.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there.
And again, I hate talking injuries, but from what I understand with his pec situation, it's kind of a pain tolerance thing.
Oh, totally.
And it's very painful. It's not like sometimes you say that and people are like, oh, then he'll be fine.
Just take a shot, no problem.
Right.
Numb it up for 3 hours.
Yeah, you'll be okay.
Easy for you. Easy for you to say.
Yeah.
That's one of those injuries too. Remember a couple years ago when TJ tore his pec? Was at the start of the season against Cincinnati.
Imagine what that feels like?
I want to say.
Yeah.
And I think it was that crazy overtime season opener in Cincinnati a few years ago where Cincinnati, all they had to do was kick an extra point with like 2 seconds left on the clock to win. Minka blocked it.
Yeah.
And then the Steelers won in overtime. That game, I think that was 3 or 4 seasons ago. TJ tore his pec in that first game of that season, and I remember talking to Moats about that on the show that week because he tore his pec when he was in Buffalo.
Oh, did he really?
And he was like, it's the worst thing ever.
People say it's terrible.
He's like, it feels like they're taking like a cottering iron and like shoving it into your chest. Like It's just a burning,
just all the time.
Pulling, burning, hot sensation.
I think it happened to Tuitt as well,
yes.
sort of recently. And I always think of D lineman because it often is I'm on a block and I'm trying to make a one-arm tackle and it ends up getting wrenched back.
Totally.
And
You're right. There are some things that are like there's a difference between a broken bone and a muscle injury, and some of it is pain tolerance, but that's one of those that's like
it can't be fun.
I would rather let you punch me in the face.
Than
have a torn pec. I mean, without a doubt, not even close. Trade deadline pencils down. Everybody has passed, and the Pittsburgh Steelers have stood pat. Matt, well, I guess to be fair, like we mentioned, they did make the Kyle Duggar trade last week.
That's funny. Like if you make a trade 2 days before the deadline, you didn't do anything.
Right?
Not
maybe a big sexy splash like some people had hoped for.
Right.
But they did get their business done a little bit early. I think there's something to be said for that. There certainly was on Sunday.
He was useful. You get one more game out.
You needed that guy, but that appears to be it for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But of course, a lot of moving and shaking across the league.
Are you surprised?
Ish.
I am too. I would have bet yes. Like if I woke up this morning and said, will the trade be done today?
I would have said yes.
I would have said yes.
I wouldn't have said 100%.
No.
But I would have leaned that direction. I also wouldn't have said, you're going to get Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson or some massive
Brown,
name. Some massive name. But yeah, I would have leaned towards yes.
Me too.
I would have definitely leaned towards yes. And so because
especially
of
after
that,
last year, I know it's not much, but like Preston Smith and Mike Williams, like I didn't see that coming. Like,
right.
Just add something, you know?
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And
not that those deals paid off great, but yeah.
You know, again, like there's reports out that what you would really like to know if you could be the fly on the proverbial wall, right? Or the proverbial fly on the wall is what conversations were they having?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because like, you know, there's reports out there that the Dolphins were asking for a first round pick and more for Jalen Waddle.
That's too much.
Was it similar for like a Chris Olave and some of these,
Yeah.
you know, the Steelers did kick the tires on some of these and ended up passing.
Like both those guys, you can easily make the case from the Saints and Dolphins perspective, should be part of the answer, not the problem, too.
Especially if you want that answer to come in the next calendar year.
And you're going to get a new quarterback. You have someone to throw him to.
Absolutely.
Right, right.
Absolutely.
Don't just throw him in there with,
yeah, you want a nest.
Right, yeah.
Like we always talk about. You want a nest. And so, you know, maybe I'd love to know how involved the Steelers really were in the Jacoby Myers conversations. Because there were reports out there that they were and that the Chargers offered a little bit more. Or the Jaguars offered a little bit more.
And if I were the Raiders, I'd have been pretty happy with that haul. It was a fourth and a sixth. That's if you had told me the Steelers gave a 4th and 6, I'm like, ooh, it's kind of a lot.
Little rich for your blood?
Little rich, right. So,
okay.
But
that's one of the things that I wanted to ask you. He is due for a contract at the end of the season.
Yeah, that's the thing, because then you got to pay him on top of that.
You either got to pay him, but there's also no guarantees that he's going to resign.
Right.
You know, you might trade for him, and he might say, I'm hitting the open market. And
sometimes those deals get put in place. I'll give you the 4th and 6th if I can talk to the agent. We got a deal.
Totally.
You know, a handshake agreement.
Totally.
But the Steelers usually don't do those things. They don't negotiate with people mid-season. You know
right.
what I mean?
That's part of that, too.
Right. Now, I don't know if they would in an instance like that or not. And he's not good enough to franchise. Not that he's bad, but you don't have that.
You don't want to pay
either.
that kind of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So plenty to get into here,
but
Matt.
Schefter did report, like when Schefter's first tweet said the Steelers and somebody else were interested.
Yes.
Yes. I trust them.
The Bills and the Chiefs also not making any moves today, which is a little surprising to me.
That is a little surprising, yeah.
But, Matt, one that is, I think,
the teams that were busy, I mean, other than the bad teams, were like Dallas and Jacksonville. Like, are you guys contenders or not?
And the Chargers, too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Let's get into that one. Since it's the Steelers' upcoming opponent, it's
a minor move, but it's relevant for today.
The Chargers acquired offensive lineman Trevor Penning from the Saints amid, obviously, just that laundry list of injuries that LA has had to their offensive line. Mm-hmm. What do we need to know about Trevor Penning?
Yeah, as the Saints often do, they were very aggressive on draft day, 4 years ago, and they took Olave early, and then they traded up to get Penning, who's he went to Northern Iowa.
Yes,
he was a small school dude that really tested well, big, super physical. Senior Bowl was kind of a standout. Very violent / penalty prone. After the whistle, throw people down, kick them. Stuff like too much. And frankly, I never really liked him coming out of school, and joked back then that this guy is more likely to be a WWE heavyweight champion than he is Hall of Famer. He just screams WWE to me because he's like a big 330-pound athlete.
You can see him with like some
nasty,
face paint,
right,
running through the fireworks and the fire and smoke. And
it looks like he's always too caffeinated up, and But it is telling because I'm sure they gave up nothing for him.
2027 6th-round pick,
which is the least you can give up in the whole world, basically. Because they obviously were not going to pick up his 5th-year option. They drafted, still talking about the Saints, they drafted a tackle in each of the last 2 first rounds, which just screams you weren't the answer 4 years ago. So he took a tackle, now I think about it, 3 out of 4 years in the first round. Obviously they weren't thrilled with him. But to me, it just screams how bad the offensive tackle and O-line situation is
in
for
LA.
the Chargers.
Yeah.
Right. So might as well go down this road now. like the Steelers, but even in a better way, and the Saints, come to think of it, this was a team, the Chargers, that invested 2 premium picks in offensive tackles in a short amount of time.
Yes.
Slater was already there before Harbaugh was hired, but there was a year in between, unlike the Saints and Steelers. Slater, gap, Harbaugh gets there, Alt. And you're like, whoa, this is going to be awesome. And Alt's a pure left tackle, but they put him at right because Slater was entrenched at left. This offseason, they give Slater a huge deal, one of the most highly paid O-linemen in history. And then you feel terrible about it. But shortly after, he gets hurt in training camp or something
I think
early.
It was, yeah, done
out
for the
year. You know, like right after you gave him the deal.
That is a bummer.
You take Alt and you move him back to left where he played at Notre Dame. And he looks like he's done it his whole life and is better than ever.
One of the best in the league.
Yeah, and awesome. And then he gets hurt, and they kind of fall apart without him. As you can imagine, you lost both your tackles. Then he came back a couple weeks ago, maybe even just 2 weeks ago, looked phenomenal. Offense starts to turn around. I don't think that's a coincidence. And then he gets hurt last week, and he's now out for the year. So you really have nothing at tackle. And Hart was the right tackle. I guess we'll start getting into their practice reports, and it always gets cloudy with West Coast teams, too.
Yeah.
They're always a day
Yeah,
behind.
the time difference and everything.
Right. But Hart, the right tackle, last week they started Hart at right, Alt at left. Both got hurt, and I don't think either finished the game. Alt absolutely did not. And Hart's not very good either. I mean, he's like a petting journeyman anyway. But that was the best they had. So they might be short both those dudes. Becton, who was a tackle by trade that the Eagles turned into a high-end guard, another former first-round pick, is really good when he's out there, but he's hurt all the time too. Penning has played some guard for the Saints, so I guess they're probably looking at it like we just want big bodies with we've talked a million times how hard it is to trade for O-linemen and tackles at the deadline. I mean, sometimes you can get the former first-round pick that is a total washout, and that's exactly what he is. So if he sees the field, it just shows the state that they're.
It shows kind of the desperate mode that they're in.
And matchups, I'm going to. So we do this matchup show with Missy and Rob, and we start emailing each other usually like Tuesday morning, like what are our topics for the week and
what matchups we want to highlight.
Yeah, what are the 3 we're going to pick on each side of the ball. And the big thing I think I'm stressing more than ever is their tackles against the Steelers' edge guys. And I think the Steelers' tackles against their edge guys is important too. Khalil Mack, Tui Tuipulotu. I'm going to try not to pronounce that name
that was
again
impressive.
this year.
Impressive.
And who's their other edge guy? It's pretty good. Oh, Owe that they traded for
Odafe
too.
Owe.
Yeah. So something to keep in mind.
We will deep dive into that plenty later on in the week.
Yes.
Matt, before we get to some more of these blockbusters, staying in the division here, are you surprised we didn't see Cincinnati do anything today in the cellar department, particularly, obviously, Trey Hendrickson?
Yeah, sort of, except for they're such a stubborn organization.
They are notoriously tough to deal with.
And notoriously, I bet that was a sticking point.
They make fewer trades than anybody around.
Yeah, they do. And I just noticed when I was getting coffee last time, I was just messing around on Twitter looking to see if there's any more moves. Joe Goodberry's covered the Bengals for a really long time and well-respected, and I trust him with the Bengals. He thinks they're going to franchise him after the year.
Oh.
Which to me just screams more dissension and problems.
Holdouts.
Compounding your problems.
Totally.
And, so that's probably the way they're thinking about it, and therefore they probably only would take a 1 for him. But even if I'm like the Lions, I'm not giving you a 1 for 9 games plus playoffs, and then I got to pay him on top of that at his age,
Yeah.
So I was joking on my podcast earlier today, like the Bengals to me are that team in your fantasy league where you go to the draft and everyone's drinking and having a good time, and he's thrilled with his team. Man, I can't believe I got this guy in the 5th round and I got this guy in the 7th round. My team's awesome. And then week 5, week 10, he still thinks his team's never changed. I still have the best team ever. Like nothing's ever changed. I got the best. I nailed it. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to make any moves. Well, then you lose.
Yes. Yes, you do. I am surprised by that and not surprised by that because that's just kind of the Bengals and what they do. But I thought, man, that one feels like
Do you think they can still compete and get in the playoffs? I bet the answer is yes.
I mean,
Flacco makes them better.
Totally. After they beat the Steelers, completely fair conversation.
In a way, that might have been the worst thing for them.
Because if they would have lost to the Steelers, then they're definitely.
Then I think you're making. Yeah.
Then you're definitely looking forward to 2026.
Yeah.
They're
probably looking at it like our offense is awesome.
Our offense is one of the better ones in the league.
Right.
And
we would have given up 70 without Hendrickson.
Sure.
Right.
They're also, are they 3-5 or 3-6 now? I think they're 3-6, aren't they?
I think they're 3-6. Yeah, I don't think they've had their bye.
No, I don't think they have either.
Yeah,
they are 3-6, have not had their bye week. If you're 4-5, it's a completely different story.
Right.
3-6 as opposed to 4-5 is just a completely different story. And again, I think particularly when you look at the scope of the AFC, those wild card spots are going to be tough. There might be a 10-win team that doesn't make the playoffs.
Right, yeah, I agree.
And I don't see.
And I'm sure they're looking at, like, if we can just survive until Burrow gets back, that's great.
Yeah, but that's probably at least still another month away. And again, it's not that the offense has been the problem.
That's what I was going to say. Like,
they scored 42 points against the
Bears.
Scoring
points isn't an issue.
Can Joe Burrow play linebacker?
Right.
Can Joe Burrow rush the passer? Can Joe Burrow cover Colston Loveland down the middle of the field?
I'd rather take teams on with Burrow than Flacco, but if you're putting up 30 to 45 every week, that's not the issue.
Matt, one team who is certainly all out, all selling, all looking towards the future is the New York Jets.
Yeah.
Jets. They made a couple blockbuster-type moves today.
After the ones they made, I'm kind of shocked they didn't make the easier ones. The Breece Hall type
move.
Right.
We didn't do Tuesday Rewind yesterday because it was such a jam-packed day.
It was a pretty busy day,
with the NFL trade deadline. So, I don't know, Wednesday Rewind, if you want to call it, or just a couple minutes here of one thing that I did want to run by you. And that was that I found it very odd when I went back and watched the game that if you look on paper, if you just look at the stat sheet, the Steelers were not successful at all running the football.
No, real bad. Like one of the worst rushing performances any team had all year.
And maybe their worst of the season.
Yeah.
But if you go back and watch the tape, I really liked what I saw from the offensive line.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was a good O-line day.
So it's bizarre for me. It's hard to kind of evaluate in that regard because I thought it was a good O-line day, particularly for that right side of the offensive line.
Yeah, it's humming.
From Frazier, McCormick, and Faltanu, those guys all look like they're on the same page and playing really well. They were good in pass protection, didn't quite translate to the run game. But that's just kind of what I wanted to pick your brain about because, like I said, it was weird to me because if you just watch the tape, those guys, they're picking up stunts in pass pro. They're moving bodies in the run game.
Yeah.
But it didn't translate to a successful rushing attack for the Steelers.
No, it didn't. And some of it was volume. They didn't run the ball as much as I would have liked. And that goes back to the second half of the Packers game as well. I have no complaints with them, but I think everyone shouldn't be immune to criticism. Warren didn't break as many tackles as he usually does or make as many guys miss as he usually does. So be it. That doesn't concern me at all. But yes, I think the O-line's in a really good spot. Faltanu, to me, the more you watch him, he just jumps off the page. I mean, he's going to be a really good player and is really starting to settle in at right tackle and, playing a lot of games in a row after a slow start to his career because of injury stuff. I think we know who Frazier is. You're right about McCormick. Jones is better than he was. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like, they still do so I know we're going to talk about like O-line ranks and things like that, and I want to, but some people, rightfully so, will say, well, the Steelers have it easier than most teams pass protection-wise because the ball comes out so quick and Rodgers is so good, and that's 1,000% true. I can't argue that one bit. And I will also say Jones has it a little easier than the rest of the line because I think they recognize he's the weakest link. And if they're going to help or if they're going to do anything, it's to make his life easier. But that's what every team does. You know what I mean? Not when it's 5 Pro Bowls.
You're trying to minimize your weaknesses.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
that's coaching
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe calling it a weakness is a little bit too much of a stretch, but you get what I'm saying
The
there.
weakest spot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You don't have your, 9th best hitter hitting 4th in your lineup.
Right. There's a reason for these
for the
things.
Dodgers or the Blue Jays or whatever. And yeah, so I think it makes a lot of sense in that regard. You did send me Brandon Thorne here, mid-season offensive line grades, one of the guys that we like in his evaluations in the trenches.
He's the best O-line guy out there.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
I think so, too. He's got the Steelers as the 11th best offensive line in football right now with a solid grade is what he gives it. So there's like elite, there's very good, there's solid.
Different tiers, yeah.
There's like below average, and so he's got them 11th overall.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's,
you'll take it.
You will take that all day.
Yeah.
Because I think if they're going to go one way from there, too, it's only going to be up.
I think so, assuming health, knock on wood.
Sure.
I mean, and they are fortunate that they, unlike the upcoming opponent, they've started the same 5 every game, and that's absolutely huge, as we know. And I do worry about the depth a little bit more than I do in previous years. We haven't had, other than Anderson. But, so be it. The other thing that happened today, too, is I don't love Pro Football Focus's O-line stuff.
Okay.
But when Brandon emailed me his list, I'm like, I wonder where PFS, because I know they always keep up with it, too. You said they're 11th on Thorns?
On Thorns.
They were 9th in Pro Football Focus.
Okay, so not too far off.
I mean, if you're in that 10 neighborhood, I think you take that all day long for considering the age of this group and the experience of this group. And it's clearly trending the right direction. Now, since we have that up, I think it's worth noting the Chargers.
Yeah. Now, you talk about injuries.
It's not their fault.
It's not their fault.
Right.
But they are way
Keep
down
scrolling,
the list
dude.
here. Keep scrolling. My goodness, they've got them all the way down in Tier 5, 32nd.
32nd.
Out of 32 teams in the National Football League. The Chargers line has been decimated by injuries. And now Joe Alt is out for the season due to an ankle injury. This in addition to Mekhi Becton, Trey Pipkins, and even Bobby Hart dealing with injuries.
Yeah.
And of course, we all know Rashawn Slater went down before the season, before it even started.
And PFF had them like 30th or something, right?
If they're healthy, they might be third.
Oh,
they might be first.
They build it right. It's just, I always feel for GMs from that way because the perfectly laid plans, and it's like, that should be the strength of the team besides the quarterback, and it's last in the league.
It's like a glaring weakness right now. Yeah, they're down there with the Raiders and the Texans and the Titans and just company you do not want to keep.
No, and like the Herbert under pressure numbers are crazy this year. I dug up some things about Herbert's numbers with and without Joe Alt on the field this year. Dramatically better when he's out there.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, dramatically.
I'm sure.
I mean, yards per attempt, all those type of things. So, I mean, we're Wednesday. You can start talking about the opponent a little bit here. I mean, to me, I would be very worried from a Chargers perspective. Chargers O-line versus Steeler D-line, especially coming off the game that the Steelers just had. But I think the real story, like you opened the show with, is, guys, it seems to always happen with O-line too. And Dale and I used to joke because the average Steeler fan, I'm not giving you guys a hard time, but can't comment.
The average NFL fan in general.
Right. They're not going to talk about 31 other lines all that much. And I've always said that's something I like to bring to the table. Like, boy, you think your low line's bad. Let me show you these 10.
Go watch the Raiders.
Yeah, right, exactly. So I think there's a lot of people around here that are like, man, this O-line's okay, below average. I'm not saying it's superstars, but it's good. I mean, it's an above average line.
It's gotten better.
And it's improving.
It was better in October than it was in September. Hopefully it's going to be better in November than it was in October.
And better in 2026.
Absolutely.
2027. Right.
This line at the end says it all for the Chargers. The Chargers are going to simply have to gut it out for the rest of the season with multiple backups and no clear avenue for stability. Whew.
Right. That's it. This is what you got.
Max Starks. Barbecue chicken those boys on Sunday Night Football. It is time to go around campus.
Yeah, let's go.
I know you look forward to this, don't you? This is you can put your feet up and just kind of
I like how psyched you get about it too.
I do love it.
Yeah.
I love college football. I love the draft. I love especially that like we know the Steelers are this year, next year going to be in the quarterback market.
I can't stress enough, though, and I even did a side podcast on this today. It's going to be harder than we thought to get your first-round quarterback. And the trade deadline didn't do the Steelers any favors.
No, it did not.
Getting some extra picks to the wrong teams.
It absolutely did not. And with that, Matt, let's go ahead and start. Before we get into individuals and some of the names that we've been talking about and all that stuff, that was my kind of observation that I teased. The more and more we get into this college football season, which is now at week 11.
Yeah, it's well past the halfway mark.
There's just a few weeks left here in the college football season. I mean, Thanksgiving is kind of the end of the regular season, and then we'll have conference championship games.
I say, when do the playoffs start?
Playoffs will start
5 or 6 weeks?
New Year's ish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We got a little bit again.
Like late December.
Yeah. Bowl season.
Holiday
But
bowl season. Yeah.
Traditionally, yeah.
I think that there's not going to be as many quarterbacks coming out for the draft this year that we might have assumed back in August and even September.
Yeah. I tend to agree.
I certainly think some of the names like Fernando Mendoza will.
Yes.
After that, though, Matt, I really don't know. Like someone like Dante Moore.
I say Moore and Sellers to me are less than 50%.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because
they're going to make so much money.
They're going to make so much money if they stay.
Right.
If you're Dante Moore, I think both of these guys, they're not Ty Simpson from Alabama where they're like single-digit starts in their career.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have a massive body of work either.
Experience would be helpful.
Experience would be very helpful. If you're Dante Moore, you could stay at Oregon. You can make a ton of money. You can run it back for another year for an Oregon team that's going to be loaded next year. They're really good. They're really good now, and they're so young.
Like if he returns, they're a preseason top 5 team.
Number one, probably.
Maybe one.
One or
okay.
two.
Yeah.
Lenora Sellers. This year hasn't gone the way he wanted it to, that South Carolina has wanted it to gone to. They've been banged up on the offensive line. They can't run the football. He's trying to do too much. Do you leave and go play at a program like it's not going to be Ohio State?
As I say, Michigan or Ohio State.
Ohio State.
Right.
I don't know if he would want to stay in the SEC because then he'd have to go up against his old school. Maybe, though. I mean, do you end up somewhere like an LSU or, somewhere like that, an Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin, whatever the case might be? I think there's a real chance that could be the case. Guys like Fernando Mendoza will come out. Some of these guys, Hayes King, Carson Beck, will come out. But
they all will unless they get hurt between now and then.
Unless they get hurt between now and then, too.
Right,
That's an absolute great point.
The story's not done, yeah.
Sam Leavitt, who's the Arizona State quarterback.
Right.
I really like him. I think he's maybe the most underrated guy in this conversation.
Okay. He was on all the preseason lists.
He was on all the preseason lists, got banged up at the beginning of the year, so kind of faded a little bit, came back and played really well for a few weeks, and then just got hurt again last week.
Why would he come out?
So why would he come out?
Yeah.
And if his head coach ends up taking a big boy job there, Kenny Dalglish, which could absolutely happen.
He could get bumped up.
He is an Arizona State guy.
Yeah.
But, he won the Big 12 with them last year, had them in the playoff. I think he could get one of these Auburn-type jobs.
Really? LSU or
absolutely.
Whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah. Auburn, Florida,
one of the big jobs.
Something like that, yeah. If that happens, does Sam Leavitt transfer from Arizona? Does he do a Jaden Daniels? Good few years at Arizona State, transfer to a big program, and end up being a top 5, top 10 pick. I certainly think that could be the case. So the more and more we get into this thing, and I think a lot of people have said it. I think I've been guilty of it too. I probably said at times back in early September when we were doing this, Matt, there could be 6 or 7 quarterbacks drafted in the first round.
Oh yeah. And that seemed very possible then. That was not crazy talk.
Now I think it'll probably be more like 2 or 3 or 4.
And you haven't even mentioned Uhler, Klubnik, Nussmeier. Like they were the ones that were in that mix too. That
Arch Manning.
I mean, there was some. At least with him, people weren't sure if he's coming out or not.
Right.
The 3 I mentioned, they were definitely in those 6 or 7 potential ones.
Correct.
I'd be shocked if any of that. I mean, and there's no way Uhler or Klubnik's going in the first round, right?
Uhler, I don't think so, especially with the injury.
Or they come off an injury,
and so again, that's a different than just a underwhelming performance.
That's what I mean.
Conversation
for varied reasons, all those guys' stock has dropped.
I do wonder though if some of like the Klubniks, for example, the Nussmeiers, the names that we discussed plenty coming into this, more than Dante Moore, more than Jada Mayava, more than
Simpson.
Even Simpson.
He wasn't really on the radar.
And Mendoza,
either.
yeah. I wonder if those guys have strong finishes of the season. Like Cade Klubnik played probably his best game of the year Saturday.
Oh, good.
Okay. They lost to Duke in a shootout, but he played his best game. They lost 46-45. Duke went for 2 at the end and won the game.
Okay.
75% completion percentage, 385 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnover. No
and some
turnovers.
of these guys will gain steam again at the Senior Bowl, at the Combine,
So
if they declare.
Maybe we're in a weird middle area right here where
it is.
A lot of the preseason darlings haven't lived up to the expectations.
Mm-hmm.
The Allers, the Mannings, the Klubniks, the Nussmeyers.
Even like Mateer needs to get healthier again, and right.
But someone like Mendoza is rocketing up a list. Someone like Ty Simpson at Alabama is rocketing up a list. So maybe water will find its level there, and a couple of those big names will perform well down the stretch, and then and maybe we still do have 4 or 5 first-round quarterbacks drafted. I don't think it's going to be the 6 or 7 like it was looking
right.
maybe a month, 2 months ago.
So many people scoff at you when you say, well, next year's class is going to be better than this year's class, And it is funny because there's so many instances of early picks that we didn't even know were coming. Burrow, Wentz, Baker. Guys that were top 2 picks in the draft.
Absolutely. Cam Ward,
when we weren't talking about him, right. But from a Steeler perspective, what if Rodgers wants to come back? What if you want to give Howard a ton of preseason reps? Rudolph's under contract. Might you wait a year?
Especially if it's Fernando Mendoza in a cast of unprovens.
Right.
What if Dante Moore goes back to school, Lenore Sellers goes back to school, Ty Simpson goes back to school.
And they all come out next year with Arch
and Julian Sayin from Ohio State. And then we all get kind of duped that it ends up being a year later than we thought that there's 6 first-round quarterbacks.
Now, of course, same thing could happen to them, too. They could all get hurt or play terrible or whatever.
Absolutely.
Again, you're waiting on the future. None of us have a crystal ball.
Exactly right. But as we get more and more into this, I think it's every week I'm thinking it's more and more likely that Lenore Sellers isn't looking like himself. Why would he come out now? Dante Moore.
Yeah, he's not building the best resume he possibly can.
Dante Moore got banged up and is coming off his bye week, so maybe he'll light it on fire these last couple of games and will end up still getting drafted. But someone like Ty Simpson.
If they're getting advice, they're going to go in the top 5 overall. They'll come out, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
But, right.
Top 10, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of these guys, and even more so now in this NIL era, why would you not? I know we talked about this, Matt. I still can't believe that Quinn Ewers entered the draft last year.
Yeah. I can't. You can't tell me Pitt or Rutgers or WVU or somebody who could have said, come be our quarterback for a year.
And you're going to make 5, 6, 7 times as much as you would have as a 7th-round draft pick.
Yeah, right.
It's.
Speaking of which, I'm not going to go through all the teams, but Kyler just got benched. Kyler and Tua are 2 that we kind of thought that team could go either way. It's sure looking like they're going to be in the quarterback market more, and there's a lot of them now.
There's a lot of them trending in that direction. And maybe the Vikings are the only ones that we had them as a maybe.
They're looking better after
maybe they're
one
looking
day.
better for being set, but a lot of those other kind of middle ground teams
look like they're in the market.
And now, granted, I feel like that's the case every year, right?
Of course,
everybody always needs quarterbacks.
Right. We've kind of said this for 5 years as the Steelers go get a Russell Wilson, a Trubisky. You can't just wait forever. But there's got to be somebody to get. Getting from 23 to 8 isn't going to be easy.
No, it's not. And
because the Rams with 2 first-round picks, they'll just jump you. Whatever.
That's where we loved back in September when it looked like there was going to be 5, 6, 7 first-round quarterbacks. Great. You don't have to jump up to 6 to get one.
Right.
You can go to 13 to get one.
Sure.
But
Allen and Mahomes and those guys were not top 5 picks.
But all of a sudden, I think it could be different. There could be 3 first-round quarterbacks, and they're all taken in the top 10.
Yeah. Or there's going to be. But again, we're crystal balling it here, but no one thought Nix was going to be a first-round pick that year, you know, and he goes right in the middle of the first round, and most people had a second-round grade on him. And now it's kind of worked out pretty well for Denver, but if the Raiders are picking 12 and the top 3 quarterbacks are off the board, they might just say, we're taking a quarterback no matter what.
They might.
Right,
They very well could. They certainly very well could.
Jets, the Browns, right.
Yes. So let's run through a couple of these names just to update you on where they're at, how they're doing. Fernando Mendoza, just another blowout win for Indiana, where it was
he just keeps checking the box.
He just keeps checking the boxes. Completed 67% of his passes, over 200 yards, 1 touchdown. Did throw an interception, only his 2nd of the year. Also had 24 yards rushing and a rushing touchdown as well. I want to see him in the playoff. You know what I mean? Now, it's just stay healthy, Big Ten championship game, playoff. He's going to play, depending on how far they go, 2, 3, 4 really big games at the end of the year. if he continues to check the boxes, he could be the first overall pick.
I should know
think
this, but do they have a chance to be in the Big Ten championship?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's not a East-West thing anymore.
It is
right?
not.
Like
no.
I was saying,
so right now, they
play Ohio State?
They beat Oregon in that big matchup a couple weeks ago. So if Indiana and Ohio State win out, that would be your Big Ten championship game.
Okay, so that starts there.
And then Oregon would still get into the playoff. As the third Big Ten team.
Okay.
But yes, I
was hoping to see him against Ohio State. I mean, at a Matt Patricia defense.
Oh, 100%.
And that defense is awesome.
It's great, and I don't think they play in the regular season. Let me just double check this, but yeah. They do not. So Indiana has Penn State this weekend, then Wisconsin, then Purdue. They should be able to handle business against those three teams.
Is Penn State scary at all?
Yes.
I would say they still have good players.
They still have good players.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
They
played Ohio State reasonably tough.
They did. I think they ended up losing by 14 or 17, but it was a close game at halftime. They didn't roll over and die.
Yeah.
And they're at home against Penn State this Saturday at noon. That'll be a decent test.
Oh, yeah.
It won't be 100-some thousand crazy Penn State fans going nuts. I'm sure there'll be plenty of empty seats in the upper decks and everything, but that's still a team with some pride and a lot of talent.
There's a lot of NFL players on the team. Yeah.
Absolutely. The highest paid defensive coordinator in college football. But yes, I would like to see him against Ohio State as well too. I am with you on that.
Boy,
one.
That's a defense.
Dante Moore. Coming off his bye week, coming off that injury against Wisconsin, it does look like he will return to action against Iowa. That bye week came at the right time. He took a high hit, like a clothesline type hit against Wisconsin early in the third quarter and did not return, but then gets the bye week to hopefully get healthy. And this is I think Oregon's ranked like 7th or 8th right now. They have to go to Iowa on the road, Matt, the 20th ranked team in the country. It's a good test for Dante Moore.
Yeah, okay, good.
Iowa's another one of those, like, what you're getting, and they're usually pretty good in the trenches. They've got some
bunch of Steelers from Iowa.
They got some good defensive backs. This will be a good test for Dante Moore off the bye week.
You just know Ferentz teams aren't easy to play against.
Correct.
I don't know anyone on their football team, but I'm sure it's not an easy game.
No, absolutely not. Never is. And so that one, 9th ranked Oregon at number 20 Iowa. That's 3:30 on CBS. That's one of the ones to watch this weekend for sure. Lenora Sellers, rough Saturday for him, Matt. They got smoked by Ole Miss. He completed just 53% of his passes, 180 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He did run for a score. I mean, his athleticism is undeniable.
Oh, yeah.
But he was sacked 6 times.
He's getting beat up like crazy.
And I've told you, he might have the worst offensive line in the SEC, one of the worst in Power 4 football. They can't run the ball. They can't protect him.
I watched him 2 weeks ago. Every nice play he had would be a comeback from a hold or, right.
Exactly right. But he also, 6 sacks. It's like he's just getting beat up back there. He is trying to, make magic happen. But it's tough. He's turning the ball over because of that.
Well, that's the thing. Now you get to the point where I'm all we got, so now I have to take risks that I usually wouldn't, and then you put that on tape, and how do people interpret that as scouts, and
And you mentioned that Bama game that you watched a couple weeks ago where it was like every time he made a play, something negative would happen.
Yeah, and they battled him to the very, very end, too.
It was kind of similar with Ole Miss. Like, they didn't battle Ole Miss to the very, very end, but, man, he made a couple fantastic throws.
Really?
And his receivers dropped them,
right,
or, tripped over their own feet, or like
illegal procedures. Just everything came back, or didn't go the way it should have.
Exactly right. And as much as this has not been the year that Lenora Sellers wanted at all, same thing for South Carolina can be said. You still see it a couple times a game where it's like,
oh, that's the thing. Quarterback coach would be like, I'll work with that.
He can throw the deep ball.
Yeah.
And he can move.
Yeah.
And it's like a few times a game, you're like, I'd still take that guy in the first round.
See, like, part of me hopes like he looks bad or gets beat up. I mean, I'm not rooting bad for the kid. So he falls to 22 and sits behind Rodgers for a year.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, baby. Like that.
I would sign in blood. I would sign in blood for that right now.
If you could get him with your first-round pick and not much else or whatever for the Steelers because it's a down year, oh, baby.
Baby.
Yeah, if he sits behind Rudolph for a year. I mean, whatever it is. Just, yeah.
Completely agree. Couple more names I want to discuss here with you, Matt. Jada Miava, the USC quarterback, who we've started to talk to about a little bit more. He played poorly against Nebraska. They had to go to Nebraska, night game. It was a blackout there at Memorial Stadium in Nebraska. He was 9 of 23 for 135 yards and an interception. I will give him this, though. He played very poorly. He led them down the field in the fourth quarter to score a touchdown and take the lead.
Okay.
So, and
he's got traits, though.
He's got traits. And even in a game where he was frustrated, was probably his worst performance of the season, he found a way to lead his team to victory in the fourth quarter. I do like that.
Okay. It's not going to be smooth sailing for all these guys all the time.
No, it's not. It's not.
And I'll be honest, as an evaluator and been around a lot of really good evaluators, you want to see these guys struggle. You don't want it to
see
be
how
easy
they respond.
straight. Yeah, because it's
That's a great point. That's a great point.
I remember that day you didn't have it, but you figured out a way,
Absolutely.
The pitcher doesn't have his fastball or curve,
Absolutely. Ty Simpson had a bye week with Alabama. We'll see how he does down the stretch here. His stock is through the roof. One guy, I told you this, Matt, the other day, that I'm out on is Carson Beck now.
I get it. Yeah.
It's his fifth year in college football, and he still somehow just lacks the leadership and lacks the maturity. He threw 2 really bad interceptions in Miami's loss at SMU, and then blamed his coaches afterwards. Like
is that the second time in this month he's done that post game? Yeah.
He's got the talent, he's got the frame, he's got all that stuff, but he lacks.
But he doesn't have otherworldly talent.
No.
Like he is.
He lacks the leadership. He lacks the maturity. He lacks the IQ. I think I'm out on this guy. He's given him so many grains of salt.
Yeah. And
he's also not 19 or 20 in his first year of college football.
Yeah,
he's in his 5th year of high-level college football. He should know better.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to you a little bit about Cade Klubnik. I thought he played his best game of the season. Be interested to see what he does down the stretch.
Maybe him or Nuss can redeem themselves a little bit here.
Absolutely. Taylon Green, the Arkansas quarterback that we've talked about a little bit, they lost a tough one to Mississippi State. He's another one of those guys who it's just they go as he goes, and if he's not playing out of his mind, they're going to lose. And Arkansas fired their coach a month ago, Sam Pittman. They're kind of reeling.
Yuck.
He still makes a lot of plays, with his arm and with his legs, but he's a tough eval for me at this point. He's one that I'm excited to see get to the Senior Bowl and the Combine and all that stuff.
I could see that.
Sawyer Robinson, the Baylor quarterback, who I had kind of soured on for a couple weeks, he performed really nicely this week. 73% completion percentage, 267 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. On the year, Matt, he's got 2,700 yards passing, 26 touchdowns to just 7 interceptions. And one thing that really intrigues me about him, he's kind of the last specific guy that I want to talk about here, is his offensive coordinator at Baylor is a guy named Jake Spavital. Okay?
Don't know.
He has been a kind of college football longtime quarterback and quarterback coach, offensive coordinator.
Okay.
He's been at Oklahoma.
Quarterback guru type.
He's been at Oklahoma State. He's been at Texas A&M. He's been at WVU. If you look at the guys that he's coached in college, Geno Smith, Will Grier, Johnny Manziel, Kyle Allen, Davis Webb, Brandon Weeden.
Okay.
He's got and now I understand that none of those guys are lighting the world on fire in the NFL, but
see, my thoughts when you read that list were none of those guys is Jamarcus Russell talent up here.
That as well, too, though.
But they got the most out of their talent.
Yes.
They must be well coached.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Right. They're not Josh Allen or Mahomes' ability.
Correct. And so that it just intrigues me. He knows how to have guys have success, get them to the league. Kyle Allen played a long time in the NFL. Will Grier's still in the NFL.
Yeah.
Geno Smith's still in the NFL. Intriguing to me one. Sawyer Robinson's an intriguing one because he's been up and down this year, but I think he's got some traits. He's 6'4". He's got the frame. He's another one of those guys I want to see, in the Senior Bowls and the Combine and all that stuff. He's one that I think could, come January, February, March, start to move up in some conversation.
So I've kind of thought with him, and again, please don't hold me to this because I have not broke him down or there's so much more to be written. But even preseason, being exposed to him a little bit, I thought, and I know this area doesn't usually work out for starting quarterbacks, but he seems like a second-round pick to me.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you see what happens. You know what I mean?
In the early 30s.
Yeah. The bad team that didn't get one in the first round or whatever,
Like a Tyler Shuck type selection.
Yeah. I mean, Derek Carr was that guy, or Garoppolo, or a lot of those type of dudes, right? Kaepernick, right.
Couple games for everybody to keep an eye on. How about LSU at Alabama? I know LSU is reeling, and they got a lot going on with that program, and they fired Brian Kelly, but I think their defense is very good.
Okay.
I want to see how Ty Simpson performs against them.
Simpson has a chance to be a very high pick, right?
A very high pick.
Yeah.
He's been unbelievable.
Okay.
I mean, he's been very good. Indiana is at Penn State at noon, like we mentioned. Certainly keep an eye on that one. And then what was the other one that I had highlighted here from a quarterback perspective? Oh, Oregon, Iowa, which we mentioned as well too. Nice test for Dante Moore on the road to see how he responds off of a bye week.
So it doesn't sound like there's any game where we're having head-to-head where these guys face each other.
None of those this week, unfortunately. Matt, you sent me, well, to be fair, you sent me a lot of interesting stuff.
Here and there, yeah.
It is funny. I always love it. I could tell like how much work you were doing based on how many emails you send me in a given night.
You can also check my Twitter account too. Yeah.
I'm thankful for it though. I want to be very clear on that. Like I enjoy it.
Wednesday night's a big one. Matt Stats gets turned in tonight.
So, it's a big night.
So there's like 3 more spots I have to hit after my night show tonight that put the final touches on it. Yeah.
I love it. I'm excited to get it. You sent me kind of the first draft yesterday, and I do. It's like I don't even have to go searching for content anymore. You just spoon feed it right into my inbox, baby. Special teams and turnover contributions this NFL season.
It's pretty nuts.
Weeks 1 through 9 in the National Football League. So how many total points you're gaining through turnovers, how many total points you're gaining on special teams. Matt, the Steelers are like in a stratosphere of their own.
Yeah, I just cut and paste this from Pro Football Focus. I mean, their titles on there. I'm not trying to. I don't create graphs or anything like that. But I cut and paste them as well as anybody else. And our listeners can't see it, but it's actually on my Twitter feed at Williamson NFL if you just want to see the graphic. Because the graphic makes you go, whoa, you're like the best in the league in both categories.
They're like an extreme outlier in both categories.
Yeah, and I did an entire podcast on this today. And to be honest, about this time of the year, every year, they're right there. Like it's not Tomlin voodoo or this magic. It's like, they really stress these areas, and they're great at it. And it turns – how do you have a winning record every year in a row? And, well, you're really good in the kicking game, and you're really good on turnovers,
And you know who is kind of in the –
I'd say you look at the other opposite end.
The Chargers.
Are like the worst combination
them and
in
the
league.
Saints are the worst combination.
Not a good company to keep.
No, it's not. And you're absolutely right. When you look at the consecutive winning seasons, when you look at the record in one-score games.
Yeah.
This
helps when you're great on special teams.
Stuff like this, when you're great on special teams, when you're great on points off of turnovers, that's how you raise your floor.
Yeah. They're undefeated this year in games they've won the turnover battle. 4-0.
And, they as long as they've had Chris Boswell, except for that 1 year where he was injured, it's felt like special teams has been a net positive.
1,000%. But
I
also think it's
a punt every year. They always get some type of big
Let's give Danny
splash
Smith
play.
a lot of credit.
Yeah.
And I also think organizationally, they stress it at least as much as anyone else. Like since I've been paying attention to analytics in any form, Football Outsiders was like way ahead of the curve. They've been around since like the early 80s. And they would always they pretty much always said special teams every year is very random. Like if you're good on special teams last year, who knows if you will be or not. But during like there's about a 15-year stretch there when every year the Ravens and Patriots were in the top 5. They were the only two. Belichick stressed it like crazy. Harbaugh's a former special teams coach. He had Tucker. The Patriots had good kickers too. But now the Steelers are in that category too, where if you want to bet on who's going to be DVOA top 5 special teams next year, not even knowing who's on your roster, Steelers should be your first bet. You just absolutely should. And I think Danny Smith has something to do with it. Really good kicker, which is huge. But they also do things like bring up 2 running backs off the practice squad who aren't ever going to touch the football just for one game for special teams, right? Or keep Killebrew and I know Hayward does more than that, but Pierre and Hayward, I think they more than any team in the league, or as much as these 5 spots on the roster are for special teamers that can get us out of games, but they're here for one reason. You know what I mean?
They value that.
You
and I talk about it, Dale. We would talk about this every training camp, how the Steelers devote more time to those special teams periods than just about anybody.
And I said that today on the other podcast I did was I don't watch other teams' practices. Of course, I'm not at the Chargers practice, the Packers practice, but I know the Steelers dedicate a lot of time to it too.
Yes, they do, and it's shown up and it's working. That was.
They've used a lot of like 7th-round picks on pure special teamers too.
They just did with a Carson Bruner.
Right.
Yep. On a Thursday where we will fully turn the page and start to look at these L.A. Chargers, the next team on tap for your Pittsburgh Steelers. Matthew, what's up? How we doing?
Fantastic, dude. How are you?
Can't complain.
Good.
Weather's holding out for us a little bit here.
Weather's great.
I feel like for the last 5-6 weeks I've been saying, all right, well, this is probably the last sunny day. Enjoy it while we can. And then it just keeps rolling.
I always think about when I walk in. I mean, it's something Dale and I used to talk about all the time. It's
the
always
wind up here
so
can
breezy
get
and
crazy.
it'll hit you hard. And you can just feel it a little earlier than when you're up on top of the mountain here. It's not, I wouldn't call it a mountain. Big hill.
Big hill.
Yeah.
No, I'll take it. It's been a nice surprise, and it'll certainly be cold soon enough, but it's going to be like high 70s, 80 degrees this weekend in L.A.,
Wow.
So I will pack some shorts and wear some shorts for probably the last time in 2025 this weekend. We've got plenty to get to before Steelers and Chargers kick off on Sunday Night Football. Matt, a little moving and shaking for the Steelers this morning as they have signed defensive tackle Broderick Martin-Rhodes off of Kansas City's practice squad to the Steelers' 53-man roster. Remember, that's how that works.
Yeah. You have to keep on your roster 4 weeks, I think.
I believe that is the line of demarcation there. But yeah, if you're going to steal some from someone's practice squad, you can't just put them on your practice squad. They have to go right to the active roster, which makes sense.
Well, guys will be flying around team to team. They'll be on flights every 5 minutes.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And so he will move to the 53-man roster, originally drafted by the Detroit Lions, 3rd round in 2023. He was the 96th overall pick, has appeared in 5 games, 4 tackles in his career, spent 2 seasons at Western Kentucky. Before that, Northern Alabama. Matt, still a relatively young guy.
Yeah.
Was a day 2 NFL draft pick of the Lions, but hasn't really been able to, kind of find a role to stick on with Detroit or Kansas City. What do you know about Broderick Martin-Rhodes, the newest Steeler?
Less than just about any 3rd-round pick I can remember, to be honest with you. I could sit here and make stuff up and be like, oh, yeah, I studied his film at Western Kentucky to no end and all his preseason tape. I remember when he was taken by the Lions in the 3rd round, many of us went, wow, that's a little early. And not a lot of production at a real small school.
Yep.
It was not a combine invite from what I remember. But I think he tested well at his pro day. He's got traits. He's got long arms. He's big. He's going to look the part. I would think he's more nose, but he's 6'5"-ish. I mean, he's not going to be a traditional Casey Hampton stump in there either.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
So
325.
Again, I'm not going to
6'5".
pretend to know a ton about him, but there is ability there. There's some moldable clay at his age. I'm sure that they liked them coming out of the draft. That's usually how that works. That's where those reports start to build. They must have had a decent grade on him back then. But it really makes me wonder, why now? Because he didn't just become available yesterday. He's been on a practice squad for the whole season.
Sure.
Is Logan Lee in trouble? Is there an injury we don't know about? They're not light at defensive line, as far as I know. And like you said, he's going to be on the active roster for at least, I think, 4 weeks.
Yes. I'll be interested to see, and we should have it here before too much longer.
Yeah.
Sometime within this hour, the Steelers' latest practice report, if there is something on there that surprises us.
Probably is going to happen. Hopefully it's not something big.
Unfortunately, I'm leaning that way because, again, you put them on your active roster, you have to
It's a commitment.
You have to release somebody. Yesterday, Wednesday's practice report, which came out shortly after we got off air, Scotty Miller still not practicing with that finger. Jabril Peppers with the quad injury. Cole Holcomb still dealing with an illness. Alex Highsmith with the ankle. Isaac Seumalo with the pec. Darnell Washington with a foot. And Jonnu Smith getting a vet day. They all did not practice. Chuck Clark did return to practice. But that was yesterday's. Nobody really amongst that defensive line group there.
Right.
So
did somebody get hurt in practice yesterday that we don't know about? I mean, I'm just speculating.
Sure.
Pure speculation.
And I mean, I think it's fair. It's only fair because a move like this, until we kind of know the corresponding move for the Steelers on that 53-man roster, invites some speculation. Like I said, I think within this hour, certainly by the time we get out of here today, we should have an answer to that.
I would think. So Logan Lee's been inactive lately.
Yeah.
Ottaweno, I crush his name. My apologies. I thought he was a borderline roster guy, and he made it, and he's been here ever since, and he's been active a little bit lately. Could they just not be happy with him and be like, we're just going to swap 1 for 1 with him? Maybe. I don't know. I'm guessing if it's not an injury.
Yeah.
I'm just guessing,
Hey, that's all we can do for now, but we do know that the Steelers have made that move. It is official. He will be on the active roster, and we'll kind of wait to see anything corresponding moves from the team and the organization off of that.
We haven't responded much to the injury report that you just read off. Ciamalu and Highsmith, I'm sure they're just like, get well, I mean, hopefully just, get to Sunday. I don't love that Peppers is still on there, though. I mean, because he missed the game with, quote, an illness, and that was, a calf or something, I think. So,
yes.
I don't know. I'm just still intrigued with him.
I am, too. I'd like to see more of him, particularly now when you need some bodies, even with the performance of Jalen Ramsey and Duggar.
Yeah.
You still need bodies back there. Hopefully that's maybe another, just give him an extra day here and then hit the ground running on Thursday. We'll kind of wait and see there, but I'm with you on that. And then Cole Holcomb, I don't like to see that either because I know
been lingering too, right?
I know Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson are playing at a high level. We liked what we saw from Malik Harrison and his first action back from IR.
Three of those guys out there together, fair amount.
But I still want Cole Holcomb in that mix.
Oh yeah, I mean especially for depth, and I think maybe they found something with this Harrison package. They play it more. Everyone's calling it a 4-3. And it really is because there's three linebackers on the field. I mean, true off-the-ball linebackers, and it's a four-man front. But if you look how they play it, like it's more like big nickel with Wilson being the coverage safety guy. You know what I mean? And which is really a compliment to Wilson. I mean, to ask that much from him,
Absolutely.
I know he's a linebacker, but he was employed more like a safety, like in a big nickel.
And we know he can run. Certainly. You saw that when he was at NC State.
Yeah.
You saw that in Dublin when he ran down Jordan Addison.
It's kind of like a big nickel.
It's like a silver dollar or something like that.
Because you're afraid of the Taylor threat, and if you're going to play a lot of too high behind it, you're not going to have a lot of bodies in the box. But at least now you have bigger bodies in the box. So, just an interesting way of approaching it. Maybe that's a Colts only thing, a Taylor only thing. I don't know.
Jumbo nickel.
Yeah. Big nickel.
Big square nickel. So, that's kind of your moving and shaking, some of the news of the day for the Steelers. Like I mentioned, we should have a Thursday practice report at some time within this hour-ish.
Yeah, I would think so.
We'll keep an eye open for that and follow up as we may here as that all rolls out and we get some clarity on these moves here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But until we do that, until we catch up with our buddy Bob Labriola in a little bit as well, too, Matt, what do you say we start deep diving? It's a Thursday here. That means we turn the page. We really start to focus on the Steelers' upcoming game.
It's an interesting matchup.
Monday, Tuesday are big recap days. Wednesday's kind of a weird middle of the week day. We do some final look backs, a little look ahead. We go around campus, all that stuff.
I think I told you about my ESPN chat days. Remember when chat rooms were a thing? This is
buddy,
I bet. Pre-Twitter, I wasn't even on Twitter at this point,
ESPN
but I hosted a chat
and
every noon on Wednesday.
Okay, on
ESPN.com. For an hour.
ESPN.com.
Yep, and the same people came and blah, blah, blah. And it was a very good time. I mean, it was kind of me in my best element, just answering questions left and right, making fun of people, answering, boom, 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 and it was cool. And I'll tell two stories about it. But since doing that was always like my line of demarcation of done talking chat time. We can talk about last week. We can talk about next week. But after the chat, it's all systems forward.
Yeah,
right. It was noon on Wednesday. So it was like,
this
boom.
upcoming Sunday.
Yeah, and my mind still works that way. So I can tell a story.
Go for it.
My wife works at PNC.
Yes.
Doesn't matter where she works, but she's been there many, many years. And it was 15 years. I was still at ESPN. And she gets a tap on the shoulder in her cubicle. And she's like, can I help you? And she's like, can you please tell your husband that I'm not going to be in the chat today? And she's like, what are you talking about? She didn't even know if it was like sports related. I mean, she didn't even know I host the chat.
He's like, what the heck are you
She's
talking about?
Like, what are you talking about? He's like, my name's Mike from Boca Raton, but I'm in Pittsburgh. I just use that so my people at work don't know that.
Internet alias.
He's probably listening. I hope he is. He was in there every week. I knew the name. He's like, I got a meeting. I can't be in the chat. I haven't missed one in like years.
That's hysterical.
And I knew you were a PNC employee. I searched you down just to tell Matt that I'm missing his chat. It's like the first one ever. She's like, all right, man, that's cool. She's like, dude.
Thanks.
Yeah, that was one of her first several stalker moments. Slight stalker moments.
That's
so
hilarious.
Yeah.
That is fun. Like he's like
in the day though, yeah, he couldn't like tweet me or
like he's like a regular like a restaurant or a bar or something, and he's like, I just don't want them to be worried I'm not showing up. I don't want them to worry
Norm or
about me
Cliff
not
doesn't
being.
show up. Yeah, right. Yeah, you better call Coach. You know.
The legend of Matt Williamson, the wonderful world.
But she was a little taken aback
of Matt. Yeah, I would be too, especially then.
Well, then, right.
It's like, what is a chat? What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? It's a different time, and she didn't know people even knew who I was. To
That's
be honest
hilarious.
With you. But yeah, pretty good stuff.
That's fantastic.
I hope you're still listening,
that.
Mike. You were a good contributor in the chat room.
Mike
but
and
those are the
Boca
good old
Raton.
days. Yeah.
Hope all is well down there in Boca Raton or wherever you may be. Okay, jumping into Matt's stats here. That's a funny one.
Plentiful packet as usual.
I don't think there was any professional way for me to transition out of that funny story. We'll just jump right into the Matt stats packet. Matt, the Steelers had just 38 rushing yards last week, the fifth fewest of any team this season, and the fewest yards for any team that has won a game this year.
Yeah.
Is that just is that a function of?
I don't know what to take of this.
I don't either, because
I don't think all of a sudden they stink at run the ball.
I certainly don't. And I told you, it's very weird to evaluate, because when you go back and watch the film, I thought the offensive line played pretty well.
I did too. And even like if we correlate it back to the second half of the Packers game, only 3 carries for Warren. Like, you got to stay a little more dedicated to it. Like, another stat in there that I think is really telling is the Chargers are at the absolute top of the league in time possession. Steelers are the absolute bottom of the league in time possession. And the more I think about this matchup, I think the Chargers are going to try to run the ball a little more than they have, just to make life easier on their O-line.
Sure.
Like, they use some guys that are a lot like Ricard. I mean, they have 2 dudes, Matlock and Fisk, I think his name is, that are D tackles by trade, that are out there hammerhead blocking tight end type guys that are like 290. And I wonder if they're going to use some of that bigger personnel. Will Disley's a blocking tight end. He missed last week, but I think he's supposed to be back. Haven't seen a practice report. But I'm wondering, where I'm going with this is time possession yet again. I mean, I've been harping on this. We've been talking about this all year, that time possession needs to be better. Well, you are playing one of the best teams in the league in time possession, and you're one of the worst. So 28 yards or whatever on the ground from the Steeler ground game ain't going to cut it.
It's not going to cut it.
It's not going to cut it, right?
No, it absolutely is not. And I'm confident that they're going to get back to running the football the way that we had seen. But it has been 2 weeks of not their best showing in that department. Week and a half. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
the first half was good, right?
First half against the Packers was good.
Yeah.
And then
6 quarters.
And then only 3 carries in the second half, which was a head scratcher, particularly when you had a 2-possession lead and started with the football in the third quarter.
And maybe I'm misremembering, but it feels like it wasn't like the run game was just getting blown up left and right against the Colts either. It just didn't do a lot of it,
Yeah. 16 carries for Jaylen Warren, I think it was.
Now, their super quick passing game, the Colts was like the super quickest of all, does act as an extension to the run. You're getting the ball in people's hands, eating clock, but it's not the same as bludgeoning the middle of a defense with, O-lineman coming off the ball, tackling a running back over and over, as opposed to pushing Calvin Austin out of bounds.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Rolling along on the drive here on a Thursday afternoon. We're going to talk to our buddy Bob Labriola in a few minutes, but before we get to Labs, we will continue to parse through, to comb over some of these Matt's stats here as it relates to Week 10 in the NFL already. We're like over the halfway mark.
Yeah,
here.
we officially are.
Maybe we should revisit some of those like Coach of the Year, MVP conversations.
Yeah, that might be a good Tuesday conversation next week or something like that,
Let's continue here, though, Matt. This one, I don't know if I found this. In some ways, I found this surprising. In some ways, I did not. But the stat that you have in here of the Steelers' defense faces the lowest percentage of deep ball passes in the NFL, just 7.5% of the time.
Yes.
There was part of me that was like
20 or more yards.
20 or more yards.
Yeah.
There was part of me that was like, man, that kind of surprises me when you consider they started the season banged up in the secondary. Deshaun Elliott and Joey Porter Jr. were out.
I wouldn't say it's a super fast secondary.
Slay's been banged up at points, right?
Yeah.
Like Deshaun Elliott's banged up again now. But then the other side of that is...
And you know that they've allowed a lot of wide receiver production.
Correct.
That's in there, too. A lot.
But then the other side of it, and I got to think this is a huge part for these teams, is also everybody knows how good the Steelers' pass rush is. And when you play against the guy, when you got Watt and Highsmith and Cam and Herbig, and here comes Jalen Ramsey with a couple sacks out of the slot,
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Queen's had sacks this year. Benton has a few. They just are like, hey, when we play these guys, they know how to get after the quarterback. We've got to get rid of that thing quickly. We don't have time to stand back there and throw the ball 30, 40, 50 yards downfield.
I think that's 1,000% it. Because, well, it's the majority of it. So I've been doing Matt stats now for many years, and they've basically for the last handful of years, they've been at the bottom of the league. I mean, in terms of they're always an extreme in terms of deep ball faced. They're always at the lowest percentage, and it all comes down to the pass rush to me. We do not want to protect for that to happen as long. Now, I do think there was absolutely times early in the season, well, not even that early, recently, the Bengals game comes to mind, where you're just giving away short completions like Candy 2, and I can get if I can get a first down on one throw 6 yards and then he runs 4 yards after the catch, or if I know I can nickel and dime you on off coverage and you give no answer for Jamar Chase, why am I going to hold the ball to drive it down the field? But overall, the production they've allowed to wide receivers is far too great. I mean, it's far too much. But it hasn't been bombs over the top or just getting ripped deep downfield because everyone fears this pass rush, folks. I know some people forget, man, why are they paying all this money for Watt and Hayward, and the pass rush doesn't live up to it. They should have traded Watt and Highsmith. Why is he's always hurt, blah, blah. The league tells you. I mean, if you watch all 22, every week, no one's holding the ball against these guys.
Nobody.
I mean, they know that they fear it to no end.
And when they do, it ends up looking like it did on Sunday.
That's what you get. Right.
That's what you get on Sunday is
most times that's what you get.
5 offensive turnovers from Indianapolis and a bunch of sacks for Daniel Jones and just an offense.
A rattled quarterback that's not real thrilled about it. Right.
Never found its rhythm, never found level footing there.
Yep.
I know that there's a direct correlation in that, and we saw it play out just a few days ago.
So we mentioned this yesterday, that Porter's the only corner they've drafted outside of round 7 in the last 6 drafts. And
that's a big number.
It's a lot. It's a big deal because people do draft corners high. They're hard to find. And the Steelers, for better or worse, have basically filled their corner position from free agents or trades from other teams, older dudes. But I think part of the reason they do that is corners on draft day aren't as expensive as tackles, but they're really expensive, and if you're picking 20th, you do not get Stingley or, Sauce or those dudes. They got the no-brainers. And they know, okay, maybe our corners are a little long in the tooth, and I'm not even talking about this group, but this group applies, as well as really I'm talking for almost the last decade.
Sure.
But they also don't have to run 4.2s because no one's going to go over the top on us. You know what I mean? Like, it's all complimentary. I mean, like, they know that you know that we know that you know. You know what I mean?
Yes. And you are right. Like, when you just watch how other teams around the NFL game plan, it tells you what everyone's thinking.
Yeah, they don't hide that stuff.
They don't hide that stuff. And what they're thinking is when you're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, you better get rid of that ball in about 2.3 seconds, or else here comes some pressure. Here comes the boom.
Now, we complimented the Steelers a lot in the front office for recognizing that and going and get Slay and Ramsey and blah, blah, blah. Now, I'm not saying they misevaluated those guys, but they also haven't quite worked out where they're the press man dudes to make you tap that ball as much as we
extra
thought.
Second.
Right. Doesn't mean they're bad players, but it's not quite what they were shopping for in terms of completing the picture,
I think that's fair. Hopefully, what we saw on Sunday will be replicated a little bit again this week against the Chargers. But you're right.
I would think Herbert's going to want to have his hands extra quick.
Oh,
because he doesn't have that Colts O-line protected.
No, he does not.
Right.
Not even close, in fact.
Mean, that Brandon Thorne thing I sent you yesterday, I'm sure the Colts are in the top 2 or 3. They
were like 3 or 4, I believe.
And the Chargers are last.
And the Chargers were 32nd.
Right.
I'm not good at math, Matt, but that's a glaring difference.
Pretty good discrepancy.
The Steelers have 27 sacks in the NFL. That's third most in the league. 66 quarterback hits, second most in the league. That's also with the Steelers also having a bye week, which some of these top defenses.
The ones above them have not had
the Broncos haven't had a bye week. Yeah. And Matt, that reminds me.
And also, I never put it in there because I don't 1,000% agree with it or believe it, but they were like second in pressures too.
Yes.
I just don't usually put that in the stat pack just because it's a little foggy to me sometimes.
You and I had a show where we did some Steelers predictions before the season started, and one of the ones that I made and I think, I don't know, we might have made it together or whatever. I just had it in my show notes from the preseason stuff. So last year, Steelers finished second in the league in turnovers forced. Only Buffalo had more.
Yeah.
They finished 16th in sacks.
Right.
Dead average. We spent a ton of time talking about that.
That was one of our big bullet point offseason goals.
And one of I think what we did in this one segment was like I rattled off 4 or 5 predictions and you told me yes or no.
Okay,
and
I remember that.
And then you rattled off a few and I told you yes or no.
Like we want to get like yards per carry up.
Yes.
Red zone off.
Like I remember one of them was like Mason Rudolph plays in over under 1.5 meaningful games.
Yeah.
You know, fortunately we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, hopefully we're on the under on that still.
Let's keep it that way. One of them was Kenny Pickett ends up starting a game against the Steelers. Well, that ship sailed whenever he was traded from the Browns to the Raiders. But one of mine, Matt, was Steelers finished top 3 in the NFL in turnovers forced and in sacks. So far, so good. Halfway through the year here. And I think that's
the backbone of their defense and maybe the organization. To be
absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Matt, let's see here. Steelers now +9 in turnover differential. Only the Chicago Bears are better. Only the Chicago Bears have more takeaways. So the Steelers third in sacks now, second in takeaways. Steelers lead the league with 8 fumble recoveries. The Chargers, for example, just have 1. The Steelers have only lost 2 fumbles. The Chargers are at -4 turnover differential, 21st in the league.
Yeah.
Does this feel like another week? Listen, I'm not saying the Steelers defense is going to force 5 turnovers like they did against Indy or against the Patriots. But is this another week where if you can win that by +2, you're in really good shape?
Really good shape, yeah. So there's 3 things in this game I've really been harping on that, to me, vastly favor the Steelers. Their defensive line against the
obviously
destroyed Chargers O-line. Yes.
I mean, it's like Alabama against the FCS school.
Yeah, I mean, it's 1 or 2 versus 32. I mean, it's, special teams as a whole. This has not been a very good special teams year at all for the Chargers. Dicker the kicker is all right, but otherwise they have not gotten a lot of value out of special teams. And turnovers is the other one. I think we talked about that chart that Pro Football Focus put out.
Yesterday,
where Steelers were top right, Chargers were bottom left when you combine the value of turnovers and special teams. So I don't think Herbert all of a sudden has become turnover prone, but he's under pressure so much and he's had some tip balls, he's had some bad luck, but he's on pace to throw, I think, 15 interceptions. Last year he threw 3. And I was talking to Rob King today. I didn't know this. Once in a while he'll surprise me with a stat, but he said Herbert's touchdown to interception ratio in 2024 last year was the best in the NFL since like Rodgers' last MVP year.
Interesting.
Coincidentally. You know, I'm sure you'll hear that on the air. I have a feeling.
I bet you Rob will regurgitate that at some point.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, Herbert only had 3 picks last year. I don't know how many touchdowns he threw, but a bunch. And we only threw 3 picks. So he is not a turnover-prone guy. But because he's getting hit so much. And
they're out their top 2 running backs.
Exactly. They have some dudes carrying the ball that they don't trust as much as the other top guys. Like I think Vidal's put the ball on the floor or on the carpet a few times too. You know, they're younger, unproven people touching the ball, besides Herbert, but he's under pressure all the time.
And this also paints a pretty picture for the Steelers. Steelers in terms of points off of turnover differential are plus.
I know that gets a little convoluted, but
points off of turnover differential are +50 over their opponents. So the Steelers have gotten 50 more points off of turnovers than the teams that they have played.
Yeah.
The Chargers, Matt, -36. That's
total opposite.
Next to last in the NFL.
Next to last. Yeah. Again, that's huge. Like, you probably remember better than I do, but Rodgers after the game was talking about how if we're going to get the ball handed to us over and over, we got to score more points. He wasn't happy with the offense. Yeah. But they still got 24 points off turnovers.
Sure.
It's still 24 points you put on the scoreboard that directly thank you from the defense, et cetera, and the muff punt.
Sure.
Actually, they don't count that because the Caleb Johnson screw up, for whatever reason, for NFL.com, it is not counted, and I don't think the muff punt didn't end up directly in a.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, because they didn't score any points off of that muff punt from Indianapolis.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if they count that or not, but they did not count the Caleb Johnson screw up because one of my match stats
technically wasn't a turnover.
Right.
Which is weird.
because one of my match stats up till like week 6 was the Steelers have not allowed 1 point off of turnovers they allowed. And I got a bunch of tweets. I'm like, well, what about Caleb Johnson? I'm like, I don't know why they don't count it. I'm not an official scorer.
Yeah.
I just get this stuff from NFL.com. So I'm going to trust the league on that. But I do want to throw that out there.
No, that makes a ton of sense. And then, I mean, you saw it. TJ Watt gets that strip sack fumble recovery. Steelers go right down the field and score.
Yeah.
Peyton Wilson, I mean, back-to-back possession. It happened within the span of 2 minutes. Peyton Wilson gets that interception, takes it down close to the shadow of the end zone. The Steelers are able to score.
Boom. Right.
That's what they continue doing that off of turnovers and have some longer 10, 11, 12, 13 play touchdown drives, and then we're really cooking.
Yeah, then you're really cooking, right.
And speaking of that, Matt, that would certainly help with the time of possession. That would certainly help with getting outsnapped by your opponents. The Chargers held the ball for over 34 minutes last week. They average over 35 minutes over the last 3 weeks. That's the most in the NFL. Nearly 36 minutes of time of possession in the last 3 weeks, most in the NFL, compared to the Steelers, just a little over 27 and a half minutes. The Chargers rank second in that category. Pittsburgh ranks 30th.
Yeah.
So this feels to me like if you're going to start getting that moving in the right direction, I understand the Chargers do this very well, but it feels like you can limit them here. Like,
yeah,
you can stymie that run game with what they have with the offensive line, make Herbert have to throw the ball 40 sometimes, get them off the field in a lot of 3 and out or a first down and out type situations, and hopefully be able to run the ball better than you did last week.
Now, if this were SNR Drive, as opposed
Chargers
to
Nation Radio,
exactly, I would say
weather would be nice.
It would be. I would think that the folks on their end of things and in their building right now are saying, we're really what's our big advantage? Time of possession. Holding the football. We got to stay out of third and longs. We can't block anybody. But if we can hold the football and get big people in the game and really eat clock, and Steelers don't run the ball very well, that's one of our paths to victory for sure. And the whole season backs it up. It's a
credit to them that they're so good in that department when they have a offensive line that's shattered and they're down their top 2 running backs.
1,000%. And I think a lot of it's Herbert. He runs smartly. Mm-hmm. He's adding a lot with his legs just in terms of rushing. I think we brought this up, but he's the leader among all quarterbacks in rushing yards, which is shocking. I mean, Lamar's hurt, or was hurt, but still, you don't put him in that light. And he is turning the ball over more than you'd like, but he's making so many throws and keeping drives alive too.
And to kind of piggyback off of that and to paint the picture even more clearly, these are some impressive numbers for the Chargers. Again, particularly when you consider how banged up they've been on offense. They've produced 47 more first downs than their opponents.
Yeah.
They average nearly 88 more yards per game than their opponents. That's the best in the league. The Steelers average nearly 96 yards less per game than their opponent. That's 30th out of 32 in the league.
Exactly.
And Matt, this is impressive. The Chargers have converted 13.5% percent more third downs than their opponent. That's also the league's highest differential.
Huge differential, right?
Dude, they know how to move the football. They know how to get first downs. They know how to convert third downs.
They do. And now they're undefeated in this one. Just I saw this morning. They're undefeated in games Joe Alt has finished.
Okay.
So
that's a huge difference.
That's a huge difference too. I mean, there's some discrepancy of when he's been on the field versus not, but still, I mean, those are huge numbers that you just cited versus their opponents and the stuff the Steelers have not been good at, yardage differential, things like that, where Harbaugh's a good coach. Folks might not like him. When I do a show with Mike Pursuta later, I am not going to say that in front of him.
Mike Pursuta doesn't like Jim Harbaugh. I haven't heard him talk about that before.
There will definitely be the word cheater thrown up on that show, I can promise you, with Merrill. But he understands, much like Tomlin and his brother and these guys have done it such a long time, possess the football, be the more physical team, understands past the victory in this league when you don't have all your cards.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah. I bet the turnovers are making them crazy.
Running the ball and playing physical is a path to victory in every era of football, no matter what. And yeah, you're right. And again, piggybacking off of that leads to Aaron Rodgers 0-4 against Jim Harbaugh. 2 regular season games, 2 playoff games. Harbaugh is one of just 2 coaches, Bruce Arians being the other, that Rodgers has yet to defeat that he has faced a minimum of 3 times.
Yeah. And I don't know if I look too much into that. Does Harbaugh have his number? I mean, I'm sure they were really good.
To be fair, a lot of those were like really good Packers against the really good Niners.
I'm assuming,
in the
yeah.
NFC Championship
Certainly
game.
in the playoffs,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, right. I don't think, I put it in there because it's interesting. I didn't put it in there because I think there's lot
real rhyme or reason to it.
Right.
And it is still, I mean, 4 games.
right.
It's not nothing. It's not a massive sample size.
Yeah, he's not 10-0 against them.
Correct. But I did find that one interesting, certainly.
Yeah, I did think it was interesting.
It's a 5-star matchup because we're in there.
5-star matchup. Everybody we play is a 5-star matchup. If we in.
Good evening, Steeler Nation. How we doing? Well, that's good. Us too. Hour number 2 here on The Drive. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, down the home stretch, final hour of the week. And you know what that means. It's time for our matchup segment. It's time for a little 5-Star Friday. As I pick the brain of our resident scout and football expert, the wonderful world, the weird world of Matt Williamson. We're going to make that an off-season. We're going to make that an off-season weekly thing, the weird world of Matt Williamson, where we'll come up with something different and obscure to talk about football-related every single week. But for now, it's just quite simply 5-Star Friday. Matt, I know that we talked some of this in the first segment, but
yeah.
It really does feel like the juiciest matchups to sink your teeth into in this one are Chargers offense, Steelers defense.
Yeah.
And really, it starts with the quarterback, Justin Herbert, as we discussed at the start of the show. But then I think you go to the talented pass catchers that the Chargers have at wide receiver and tight end. Can you talk a little bit more about those guys?
Yeah. I mean, so just kind of give you the rundown on each one of them. I mean, Gadsden has come on like gangbusters. I mean, these last 3-4 weeks, he's like the most productive tight end in the league. He's Syracuse dude. People might remember his dad.
Wolf would have loved this.
Oh, Benzie loves it too. We were talking about it on Wednesday night.
Wolf would have loved talking about a Syracuse tight end, man.
And he doesn't block anybody. He's a big receiver. I mean, he's 230 pounds. I mean, that's why he dropped. He's a true tweener. But he was really productive. He's a good football player, and he's come on like gangbusters. Because he's come on so much, and they like to play multiple, tight end sets with like Matlock and big blocker, bruiser dudes. So they get their blocking elsewhere. But he's cut into like Keenan Allen's usage. I mean, they have too many good pass catchers to get on the field, which was kind of an Indy and Green Bay problem too. Like, it's nice to have Chase and Higgins, and they're always out. It's real nice.
Indy traded one of those guys this past week, but
yeah, right. But they have that issue too. So one thing they've been doing lately, so Gadsden's really good after catch. He's a dynamic young tight end that's come on strong. One thing they've been doing the last couple of weeks, though, and I think it's to help the O-line, is they've been playing with one wide receiver on the field. Like, you'll see some sets with one wide receiver on the field, which is very rare in this league. I think people know. And it's been Trey Harris, the rookie, who's not one of their best guys, but he's a big-bodied, tough guy, downfield dude, size, speed, second-round pick that blocks. I mean, he's a physical guy. So that's something that's been kind of a new wrinkle lately, is sometimes you'll see a lot of heavy bodies with these Matlock-type dudes. And Gadsden, I mean, because Gadsden's really a receiver, but they count him as a tight end. So Trey Harris is an intriguing young player. I think everyone knows who McConkey is at this point, but there is a misconception, maybe because of skin color, to be honest with you, that he's slot only. He's Wes Welker. No, he's all the above. I mean, he's a big-time outside receiver, and he's not having a monster year because they just spread the ball around so much. I mean, in the stat pack, I forget what the numbers are, but there's 4 or 5 guys that are between like 350 and 450 yards. There's no go-to option, and that makes it hard to defend because they all can hurt you in a magnitude of ways. Allen's basically just a slot only at this point. He doesn't run well, but he didn't run well coming out of Cal 15 years ago or whatever.
He's really made an incredible career for himself.
I thought he was done with the Bears. People even asked me, should Steelers have any interest in this guy? I'm like,
that was one of those things we talked about during training camp before he signed with the Chargers.
I don't see it anymore. He still knows how. He's the old man at the Y that gets every rebound. He knows how to get open. He's that guy.
Knocks down his free throws.
Right. I mean, he just knows where to be on the court. I mean, that type of dude. But his role's dropping just because there's too many good pass catchers. And the last guy I want to bring up, too, is Quentin Johnston, who was a first-round pick.
First-round pick out of TCU.
Yes. And he's by far having his best season. I think this is his third year in the league.
Yes, because his last year was that TCU team that beat Michigan in the semifinal and then got boat raced by Georgia in the national championship.
Now, I don't think Harbaugh drafted him.
He did not.
He did not. He wouldn't have because he got boat raced by Michigan, right?
That's right. Harbaugh probably doesn't like that guy.
Right. Johnson's probably like, I remember when you guys destroyed us.
Hey,
right?
Coach, what's up, man?
Coach, I bet that comes up from time to time. But especially his rookie year, he was horrible. I mean, so many drops, and he does have drop issues still. He's never going to be a clean catcher of the football. He had him at TCU. But they misused him a great deal. And this year they've really started to figure it out. And Harbaugh started to figure it out last year. Just because he's 6'3.5" and 210 pounds and looks wonderful and he's super fast, people think he's an on-the-line beat man coverage, technician, downfield, Pickens, Metcalf type.
Mm-hmm.
He's not at all. I mean, he's much more of a move Z type guy. Get him on a slant, get the ball in his hands, and he runs away from people and breaks tackles. I mean, he's a lot more Debo than he is Pickens.
Yes.
So they've really gotten a wide variety. I mean, we've had this conversation, but I like bringing it up too, there's a theory out there that you want your pass catchers to resemble a basketball team. I want a point guard. I want a guy that's a little bit taller. I want the shooting forward or shooting guard. I want the power forward, and then I want the center. I want a wide variety. Mm-hmm. And they do. And they really understand their roles.
It's why they're able to still be where they're at despite all those injuries on the offensive line and in the backfield.
Right.
I mean, obviously Herbert deserves a ton of credit, but they've got some real talented guys. And the one area that I give Harbaugh credit is a lot of those guys are kind of written off, at times in their career, other than Ladd McConkey, but he's found a way to make them all put them in the right spot to succeed.
1,000%.
Too many of those guys were being asked to be a point guard when they should be a shooting guard, being asked to be a power forward when they should have been a small forward.
And that's a Harbaugh thing, too. He really recognizes how to put guys in their best situation, how to pump them up. I mean, he's like well known for inflating the egos, which is a great trait of his quarterbacks to no end, just giving them unlimited confidence. Like when he got there, he's like, I stay awake laying and staring at my ceiling at night trying to figure out how to get Justin Herbert in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
He
used to talk about J.J. McCarthy like he was
same way, right?
Andrew
Like he walks
Luck
on
dipped
water.
in Tom Brady.
Yeah, exactly. And which players respond to. I mean, especially at the college level. I mean, that goes a long way. But
Absolutely.
Herbert also at this point too is he's going to diagnose things. He's played a lot of football. He's super smart. These guys are going to catch balls even if protection's an issue. I mean, he's going to find matchups to his liking on Sunday night.
Let's spin the block here and take a look at the Steelers' offense against the Chargers' defense. Matt, a couple household names on that Chargers defense, obviously, and Khalil Mack and Derwin James. But they've also got
as many as you think. I mean, there's a lot.
It's not the days of Ingram and Bosa. But they've also got one of the best up-and-coming young off-ball linebackers in football as well.
Yeah. So, first of all, this is also a Harbaugh thing. I think the whole is greater than the sum of the parts on defense. It's a well-coached group. They don't have superstars everywhere, but it's always a solid defense since he's been there.
That's one thing that he's done from Stanford
everywhere.
to San Francisco to Michigan to L.A. They're always good.
And they're always
going
to play hard. They're going to be fundamentally sound. They're going to tackle well. They're going to get a lot of guys the ball. Anyone loafing is going to get dragged off the field. So he instills that immediately, and you'll see it. I want to start with the edge guys, though. Khalil Mack, unfortunately, is really playing with one hand. With one arm. I think it's a pec or maybe it's even an elbow, but he was injured a couple weeks ago, and he probably shouldn't be out there anymore. Like if they were out of it, if you go watch his recent tape, it doesn't look like the Khalil Mack everyone that's going to the Hall of Fame.
Sure.
I mean, he doesn't.
Defensive Player of the Year, Khalil Mack.
Yeah, and I think it's his left arm that he can barely tackle or take blocks on with that arm. And it's just a side note, but I always think of Khalil Mack whenever I think about this too. Like, he was so good. He's one of the best I've ever seen with a long arm technique, they call it, as a pass rusher, where he gets his body like perpendicular to the tackle's chest. So I'm coming at you like this. And and with that long arm, it doesn't matter how long.
Stabs you to death.
Yeah, it just stabs you to death. And it hits you right in the chest and drives you up. And you have to have great strength to do it. But if you're a tackle with exceptionally long arms, like many of these guys are in the league, it nullifies you because no one's arms, yes, my arms are longer than yours. I'm 6'3" and I'm taller than you. I probably have longer arms if we look right at each other. But if you come at me the opposite direction and long arms me,
and the right launch angle.
Right, he's great at that, and I think a lot of it's nullified because he's kind of only playing with one arm, So that, and oh, by the way, you have an off arm to do other things with,
So it's almost like taking away his fastball.
It's in a way, but the other two are good. Oweh keeps racking up sacks since they traded for him. He's super talented, and Tui Tapalopo, I know that's not how you say his name, but
I'm not going to try. We'll just call him TT.
But he's a good young player That's why Bosa's not there. It was to get him on the field.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
it was we can let Bosa walk. We've got this young guy who's younger and more cost effective.
We need to get this guy on the field. Deion Henley's who you're talking about as the off-ball linebacker. It's much like the Edgerrin Cooper conversation we had.
I had a feeling
Packers.
that you were going to draw that parallel from the Packers conversation a couple weeks ago.
They're two of my, let's call them young off-the-ball linebackers that I think will be stars. They're the next generation of top dudes. Henley's season's been a little up and down. It hasn't been quite as good as I expected, but man, he shows up. Like I was talking to Rob at lunch yesterday, and he's like, I watched all the Charger games. He's like, I never heard of him. Who's this Henley dude? He's like, he's everywhere. I'm like, yeah, he's everywhere. He's really long. He's lean. He's only like 220 pounds, but he's got like the narrow waist, super athletic, flies around the field. But he will show up a lot on Sunday night. There's no doubt in my mind. Last guy you have to bring up, though, is Derwin James.
Absolutely.
I mean, Derwin James.
One of the best safeties of his generation.
100%. And there was a couple years pre-Harbaugh. I don't want to say he was disinterested, but he was kind of like the Quentin Nelson conversation we had. Like, yeah, he's still good, but he's not amongst the best.
He wasn't a destroyer of worlds. Yeah.
And I think Harbaugh really has him as the leader of the defense, the best defensive player. He's exactly like Kyle Hamilton with the Ravens. There's obvious Raven-Harbaugh connections here, as well as in Seattle. Seattle's head coach was defense coordinator with the Ravens.
Yes.
Well,
McDonald, right?
McDonald.
Yep.
Seattle trades up in the early second round for the South Carolina safety and Umare because these guys want the Hamilton, the Derwin, these 220-pound do-it-all dudes because they don't want to sub. They can do. If you need me to play deep middle, coach, I got it. If you need me to play blitz, I got it. I mean, they can do it all. I can
tackle well. I can cover well.
Yeah, and Derwin's playing as well as he ever has.
He's got an incredible skill set. He was an absolute monster at Florida State. I
think him and Ramsey are good Florida State buddies.
I think they are.
I'm not sure if they had to overlap.
I think they were there with Jameis Winston when those guys won a national championship. I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering correctly.
Ramsey's a little older than James, but not by much. I mean, they both, I think, were 5-star defensive backs.
Oh, absolutely.
Massive standouts. Right.
Yeah. Derwin James is one of those guys he would be on the short list of like my favorite players to watch on other teams.
Yeah, right. He's another one. If you happen to walk down the field, I bet it's like, whoa.
Yes.
Yeah,
he's just
that guy.
Because the way that he moves at his size, the way that he hits people.
He never takes play off. He's aggressive as could be. Yeah, he's nasty.
Those are my favorite kind of safeties. The do-it-all, physical, can run as well, too.
Yeah.
They're hard to find. There's not many of those guys coming off the assembly line.
No.
But he's
6'3" or something.
Yeah, he's certainly one of them. Good stuff there for a little 5-Star Friday for some individual names to watch. Speaking of Rob King, you'll laugh at this before we go to break. You were kind of picking my brain about what happens on the plane and these flights and that stuff. I can guarantee you when we get on the flight to fly home, I can tell you what Rob King will be doing. He'll be on his iPad watching Cincinnati Bengals tape.
Okay.
He's the consummate professional. It's why he's so good at his job.
It's funny you say that because Thursday he was, as we were filming, he was asking some of the people that are flying with him, Missy and whoever else on the video staff. He was asking them like, "Do you know we're going to have internet? Like, I still have one more Charger game I want to watch on the flight out there too. Like, I mean, so And I'm sure on the way home he's thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Oh, we'll all be like eating our ice cream and trying to sleep, and he'll be pouring over.
Studying.
He'll be studying quizzing himself on the Bengals depth chart.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt, we were flying back from Dublin, and he was doing Browns breakdown stuff on the plane, and I'm like, dude, you realize that game's 13 days away? Like,
wow.
You got plenty of time. Why don't you just get some sleep and relax?
I was joking with him too. I'm like, I'm only going to pronounce it or try to pronounce Tui Tagovailoa's name once. I'm like, that's your job. He's like, I got it. Yeah, he's saying it perfectly.
He absolutely is. He absolutely is. Good stuff. Gotta love our guy Rob King, and his diligence certainly shows through on the broadcast without a doubt. There's your 5-Star Friday.
We might come back here on Monday.
That's what you always like.
I do that a lot too,
to
and be like, man, that Justin Herbert dude's good.
Maybe you didn't win the turnover battle, and Herbert made enough plays.
Right, like he picked you apart just when you thought you had him. He escaped and had that 30-yard run that broke your back, and man, he spread the ball around, and you couldn't quite get to him.
He converted a 3rd and 14 with his legs in a key moment or something like that.
I kind of feel like if they win, he's the MVP, and we all just go, man, we lost to a really good quarterback, and that's been there. I mean, that's brutal. And I could also see the Steelers' running game struggling too. Like not getting a lot of rhythm on offense. Not getting that running game going, getting away from it a little bit, and then Herbert beats you. That's how I think you could lose it. But to cut to the chase, I'm picking the Steelers to win. I'm picking them to win 28-20.
Oh, gosh, we're not far off again.
Really?
These last couple of weeks, we've been almost spot on.
Did I ever tell you this? Didn't
you guys have a stretch of like 5 or 6 straight weeks where you picked the same score?
It was like 7 or 8. We had to. I had to like write down my score
to prove,
and we weren't even like on video back then. And I'd be like, I'd show it to him, and the one time he like spit out his Diet Coke. He's like, that's my exact same score. And I have it proof, like we would do it beforehand.
That's hilarious.
It was unbelievable. We were the exact same score for like 7 or 8 weeks in a row. It was nuts.
We haven't had the same one, but we've been like
a
couple points off. You said 26-20?
I did 28-20.
28-20. I'm going 27-20 Steelers.
Okay.
So we are just about.
And it's not like we're just like picking it right off the spread. The Steelers are dogs. I mean, that doesn't match the. If this wasn't the Steelers segment, this would be one of my favorite bets of the week. Like, you're going to give me points and what's basically going to be a home game away from home.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's a terrible time, or a great time from this perspective, to play the Chargers. All about the O-line.
Completely agree.
Yeah, I just think they're really not able to block people.
We talk about how the ebbs and flows of that. Sometimes you get teams at the wrong time.
Yes.
Sometimes you get them at the right time, and I do feel like they're getting the Chargers at the best time you could be getting them right now.
Yeah.
As they are just trying to patchwork, throw that offensive line together, and when you're coming off the just wrecking ball performance that your defense had last week as well too.
Yeah, and you and Missy had a good point too about if crowd noise can actually work to your advantage. Like, those tackles have never heard Herbert's cadence or know any of that kind of stuff. And the communication with O-line is so important. None of those dudes have played together, let alone they're just not as good as TJ and Highsmith and Cam. And,
Correct.
You know what I mean? They're just overmatched physically. But the mental and communication stuff, I think, could be really tough on them. And I'm sure Harbaugh will have some – I wouldn't shock me if he, like, fakes a punt or, does something goofy. But I also keep coming back to that graph that I posted about turnovers and special teams are such in the Steelers' favor too. I think that's enough.
And in a close game like this, that quite often ends up being the difference. Yeah, my Steelers lose if they're not at least even in the turnover battle.
Sure.
And
we can say that just about every week, without question,
And they let Herbert run wild.
Mm-hmm. Herbert has been turning the ball over, and turnovers aren't real friendly to this team either.
Another way they could lose is if the Chargers possess the ball for 36, 37 minutes.
That's actually my biggest concern. I should have kind of opened with that too, along with Herbert being awesome. But if they're real physical with those big, heavy packages and the Steelers are 3 and out, and the Steelers D starts to look like, oh, we let up a lot of yardage, and maybe make big plays, maybe not, that would worry me. I mean, yeah.
I also think turnover differential, obviously a big one. Steelers winning the sack differential again, I think would go a long way.
I'll be shocked if they don't.
I'll be shocked if they don't.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. I'll give a shout out to his name's Jordan. He's my oldest daughter, Olivia.
Mm-hmm.
Our daughters go to daycare together.
Oh, okay. So he's a dad.
He's a dad.
Yeah.
And his daughter and my daughter are like besties. and he's a Steelers diehard. He has season tickets, and so every time we see each other dropping off the kids or picking up the kids, he's always picking my brain, right?
Oh, I say, I'm sure he's happy to see you.
I like talking to him. He likes talking to me type thing. He's a good dude. He's actually on a flight right now to L.A. to go out there for the weekend and go to the game. And I saw him this morning, and he's like, I'm just worried. He's like, we should absolutely dominate that offensive line, which makes me think we won't.
Yeah, of course. And I get that way of thinking. I mean, we do all this analysis, and we don't know. Yeah, we don't know.
That's why we love football so much.
Yeah.
That's why we all gather around on Sunday and spend 12 hours sitting on the couch.
But it's a mess of a line.
It is.
It really is.
Playing this
to the point where I feel bad for them.
Playing this team in week 2 or we'd 3 versus now is a world of difference. It's a complete 180.
And we never should do this, but like schedule release, I'm like, I'd probably take the Chargers in that game. Even though I knew it was going to be a ton of Steeler fans back in July but still, it's like they're a pretty solid team.
If they're completely healthy, like they're an offense that is built to neutralize what the Steelers do well on defense.
Yeah, it's like Slater and Alt, and you can
put those guys on an island.
Right, they can probably handle TJ by himself. Right.
Yeah, but that is not the case, and
At
hopefully
all.
the Steelers will take advantage. And I'll be low on sleep, but not grumpy when we're back here to break down
that'd be great.
a victory Monday. And man, if the Steelers move to 6-3, get a little help from the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, now you're talking.
I get by with a little help from my friends, and we could be in a good position on Monday. But regardless of what happens, Matt, win, lose, or draw, we will be back here Monday to break it down for everybody on Steelers Nation Radio.
You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the Black and Gold. Steelers Nation Radio.